What we do here is go back.
And hopefully we are live. Good evening, Mike here, Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To. It is almost 20 past 8 here in the UK. Currently the temperature is somewhere in the region of about the mid-20s. It's absolutely glorious. Had a fantastic day out in the garden and also doing some admin here, hence why I'm a little bit late. Hopefully you're all having a fantastic day. Just make sure that you can actually see me and or hear me. Dutch Jan says dark, yeah. We're just using the natural daylight, which is still available to us currently at the moment, which is somewhat of a rarity, especially at this time of night and in the UK. So yeah, making a little bit of use from it. Hopefully you're all good. Sound and video good. Lighting change, yeah, it's just daylight. Let's make sure that overhead's working. Yeah, it's working okay. Stream desktop, yeah, that seems to be working okay. Webcam we've not got plugged in, so we're all good. Sounds are playing, but I've got no speakers because I've changed my monitor. Some of you may already have noticed that if you're eagle-eyed. I've got a white monitor. Yes, a white monitor to go with my black keyboard and black mouse, but white PC. So we're halfway there. David Andrews says daylight, sunrise is not an hour here. Wow. Yeah, it's very good. Rasher says Eurovision Song Contest is starting. I'd rather count beans from a Heinz baked bean tin can than watch the Eurovision Song Contest. Yes, I would agree. Yeah, generally we are yeah, quite often. Well, about 10 years ago, 13 years ago, not Calf's counting. Yeah, we would have been on holiday this time of year, or well, either this week or next week. I think it's this week. Yeah, we would have. Yeah, we'd have departed for holiday today, wouldn't we? This morning.
Probably, yeah.
Saturday morning.
It's always the week before half term, wasn't it? Because I decide when I go on holiday, not the schools.
Nick Barnes says, oh nice, my text was covering, what monitor is that? Well, the monitor there is the MSI Mag 274PFW, I believe. It's £109 currently available with a 1080p, 180 Hz refresh. It's an IPS display, fantastic color gamut, all that kind of usual stuff. Also, it does pivot, tilt, rotate, height adjustment, all that kind of stuff. Nice monitor. And yes, it is an MSI monitor. David Underhill's asking. So yes, it's a pretty nice monitor. I like it. It's got hitting stuff behind there. So yeah, it's got a nice bit of tilt and swivel, adjustable heights, etc. Yeah, it's a very nice piece of kit. And the previous monitor that was there was a 24 inch, so I got 3 inches more real estate on my desktop, and the other one was 4K, which was a little bit stupid, 4K at 24 inches, because I always had the resolution set, or the scaling set to 200%, so I could actually read the darn thing. And it used to always cause problems with either trying to record videos or whatever I was doing. So I've got a 1080p monitor there, I've got a 1080p monitor there. Things are so much simpler. So it's all good. Nick Barnes says, nice mic, I've been looking at the Quad HD version of the same, but reviews are scarce. Well, I was actually going to get the Quad HD version because only about 2 weeks ago, I think it is now, they actually had both of these monitors, the same basic 27-inch 1080p and 1440p, and there was like £10 difference between them. So this was originally, I think, 149, and the QHD was like 159. So it's like, well, who in their right mind is going to buy the 1080p when the 1440p is only £10 more? But MSI have reverted back to their original price, which is £109, and for £109, a 180 Hz 1080p IPS display with good color accuracy is an absolute steal. So that is why I'm using it there, and yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. Who says morning all, winter is kicked in? Oh dear, don't know where that would be. Was that Australia or something? Matthew Day says 1080p 27-inch, could that could be getting a little bit pixely. To be fair, yes, if you are used to 1440p or 4K and you are pixel peeping, you will notice a difference because it's obviously 4 times less than 4K. But from kind of a normal viewing distance here, it's absolutely fine. And yeah, the color is excellent. The viewing angles are excellent. The kind of the anti-glare on the screen is also excellent. So yeah, I've got nothing to really complain about. The only thing I am complaining about is the fact that it doesn't have speakers. I do miss having speakers in the monitor, but I'm prepared to forgo that. I can always plug in some speakers if I really need to. And realistically, it's actually quite good because sometimes I leave the speakers on when I'm doing something and I'm recording a video and all of a sudden it starts bleeping out with Discord notifications or whatever. And it's a pain in the backside because I have to like go around turning everything off. So yeah, swings and roundabouts. There you go. Nick Barnes says, Mike, they all went up on May the 1st. The QHD back to 229, but back at 159 at the moment. Yeah, we will, well, tonight's stream obviously is going to be about the Lian Li 207 digital, which we'll be taking a look at shortly. We'll do an unboxing, go through it. I think that case is actually going to be my next video editing PC. I'm getting to the point where having the PC up there, it's kind of pulling in a lot of dirt and dust, and my white case is getting rather filthy quite quickly, and I think it's just time to go back to black and go for something a little bit more simpler and with something with significantly more airflow and also better GPU cooling, which because I'm doing video editing or gaming, then obviously the GPU is in use, so yeah, why not make use of those features? Who says, yeah, white is too hard to keep clean. It is, and also because not everyone uses the same shades, trying to color match whites is really, really hard. Even something as simple as a keyboard and a mouse and a monitor, trying to get them all the same shade of white is very hard because some people go for that kind of bluer white, some people go for the kind of more natural white, some go for the kind of more creamy white. It's really hard to make it all blend in together. Yes, so that's where we are. Charles Ballard says, Matthew Day, my first full HD was 32-inch. I would never call that thing pixely. I don't really want to answer that. I think I would notice it 32 inches. Yeah. But saying that, I have had a 32-inch, so yeah, there you go. Viale's nice. It's that mic again. How you doing?
That make.
Oh, it's that make again, sorry. Yes, good old MSI. Viale has got a hatred towards MSI. Each to their own. If it's justifiable, I can go with it. There's some brands which I don't like and I've got no real logical reason for it, such as Fractal, NZXT, various others as well, which I just don't like for whatever reason. And it's not always a logical reason. Sometimes it's down to being expensive or overrated or overhyped or whatever. We all have our own little things which we like and dislike. It's just the way it is. So yeah, hopefully everyone is good. Hello Rasher as well. Says, I always like the white builds, but my white Samsung G9 Ultra Wide has a black bezel top and bottom, even though the back and stand is white. I wish I had white accents like your one. Yeah, it's nice, the white accents. You've got the white stand, really nice stand as well. The back of it's white as well. So yeah, it's actually very nice. I like it a lot. And it's very cheap. And Zero Defect says, nice YouTube award in the background. Yeah, we've had a few changes because obviously we didn't do a stream last week because I was a little bit under the weather. And I've been making some very small changes. I got rid of the pixel display, which was behind there because, well, with the monitor there and having another screen kind of there, it just looked a bit too much. And that seems to fit in better. And I quite like having there as a little bit of a reminder of the work that we put in, and also the fact that you lot have all kind of chipped in towards making the channel what it is. So yeah, I kind of like to have it on show just to remind me. Sometimes you get a little bit kind of with YouTube, but every now and then you look around and say, come so far. Anyway, there you go. Michael Elliam says, I'm good. Are you feeling better, Mike? Yes, I am much better. I'm not too sure what it was. I was having some dizzy spells and my vision was a little bit off, and
You weren't too ill.
Yeah.
But you weren't well enough to do like.
yeah, I
3 hours.
wasn't hanging, but it was like I just felt really kind of not quite right. Still isn't 100%. I'm not sure what it is. I have been taking some supplements which are collagen supplements for joints and stuff like that, and because your eyes are made up of a lot of collagen, I think possibly my eyesight's getting better, which is kind of a little bit weird. So my eyes are kind of slightly readjusting. I think that's what's making me feel dizzy, because my vision in my left eye seems to be improving, which my left eye was always traditionally the kind of the worst one of the two, but it seems to be getting better. So potentially it's because of that. I honestly don't know, but it seems to be kind of, I'm getting either used to it or I am better. One of the two, not too sure. Dan Mars says, Mike, your head is blinding me. My apologies for that. I can feel myself actually getting warmer and warmer. It's because I've been in the sun for about 3 hours.
You look a lot redder on the screen than what you do in real
Yeah,
life.
on screen I look redder.
Browner in real
If
life.
I put the lights on, which I'm going to do actually because it is getting a bit dark now.
Yeah.
The sun is
We
setting.
need one, don't we? Until you do the case.
Yeah, should do. Should we close the window and put the shade down? But we'll get some proper lighting on because the sun is setting now, which is a shame. It's nice to look out the window and see some sunlight. Yeah. Britfire says, I would describe that as feeling woozy. Yes. Mike looks like a small, angry rugby prop. Thanks. I was, if I get my BBC pass, which was taken probably in 2007, maybe 2008, if you saw a picture of me then, I did look like I was a Samoan rugby player. I might try and find it, and I'll put it in front of the screen so you can see what it looks like. It was quite funny. So yeah, hopefully you're all doing good, and for those of you that are in various countries across the world, hopefully now that the announced tariff drop is kind of sort of kicking in a little bit, hopefully some of you are enjoying better prices. Certainly here in the UK, we didn't really see a massive change in certain items. Like most PC items seem to be relatively similar priced. There was a few little price hikes here and there, but overall, generally, it was pretty good. And in fact, things like storage actually got cheaper, RAM got cheaper. So yeah, that's all good. But now that the tariffs have come to what I believe is only 10% above the base. So effectively kind of the same as what the UK pays to America, China are paying as well. So it's only for 90 days. We'll see how long it lasts, and hopefully they do figure out some sort of deal, because it will add some stability to, well, basically the world. The stock markets have all gone a little bit nuts, and as per usual, the stock markets all went crazy. Everything dropped like a rock. All the big companies bought up loads of shares, and then when the tariffs went back to normal, or normal-ish, all those shares increased in value. So the rich got richer once again. Happy days. At least if you're a rich person to start with. If you're not, then suck it. David Andrew says, most Aussies don't buy Yankee crap, so no tariffs. Say it as it is. Dolan2000 says, good evening here from the Netherlands. Hello to the Netherlands and all of our Netherlands viewers. Skystalker's in the house as well. How you doing? Rasher says, Indian Mike in the house. It is getting that way.
Oh, I love Kevin Wilson.
Rasher says, I'm enjoying my tariff-free Chinese car. Yeah, just make sure it doesn't try and hack your wallet. Stereotypical thing there, I know.
Or get remotely turned off.
Yeah, remote turn off on the middle of the motorway. No, sorry, I cannot make you travel any further. You've used all your social credits. You must stop. Oh dear. Hoove says, if England is allowed to merge with Ireland, we should be allowed to merge Australia with New Zealand. I don't think we're merged with Ireland as such. Ireland is its own sovereign entity, but it is part of the British Isles.
Kind of linked to us, isn't it?
Yeah.
Linked.
Well, yeah. You've got Ireland, or Ire, and then you've got Northern Ireland, which is kind of like the UK part, I suppose you would say.
Just Scotland and Wales.
Yeah.
Although they're linked land-wise, aren't they?
Who says buy direct from Asia, stuff America? The thing is, a lot of the stuff actually comes from China anyway. Whether you class Taiwan as China, they kind of do. Yeah, most of it kind of comes from that area anyway, so it's hard to avoid it in total. It's one of those things, I understand that obviously America has been subsidizing the rest of the world's purchasing for a long time. And like anything, that isn't entirely fair. If you imagine if it was a similar situation, there's you and your family, you all go out to eat lunch or dinner, and one of you has to pay considerably more than the others because you're subsidizing the price for them. It isn't fair. Now, being fair or being
so it's like
whatever.
When they have lunches in Parliament.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. Yeah, they do it in Parliament. So when MPs have lunch in Parliament, it's very cheap, like pence. And we, as the general public, have to pay £2 for a pack of crisps. It's all a bit of a mess. Hopefully it settles down. Hopefully there is a quote-unquote fairer system all round, so everyone kind of gets their share of the pie. In fairness, obviously the UK as well massively financed China to get them where they are, kind of from probably around the mid-70s. Ever since the mid-70s, there was trade agreements, and China had an exceptionally good deal in terms of import tariffs and export tariffs and all that kind of stuff. So it's got to the point where China's becoming a major power, obviously contributing an absolute ton to the economies all around. So it kind of does need balancing out a little bit. It can't go on forever like that, because otherwise there'll be no manufacturing anywhere else in the world other than China, because that'll be the best place to do it, because it'll be the cheapest, because it doesn't cost much to make stuff there for whatever reason. But anyway, regardless, it's all politics, and ultimately at the end of the day, regardless of who you vote for, who you back, whatever it is, you basically they'll kind of do whatever they want to do regardless. So whether you're blue, whether you're red, whether you're whatever party it is, it makes no difference at all. It really doesn't. The banking cartels will do whatever they want to do. Sorry, Kath?
TO, is it? TIO?
Tio, Mike, what's happening with ASRock and the 9800X 3D? Honestly, don't know. I've never been a huge fan of ASRock motherboards, other than there were some significant differences. The B450 range, the B450 Pro 4 and the Steel Legend, excellent boards, fantastic. The B550 boards I've never been a huge fan of. They always seemed a little bit clunky, a little bit cheap, but acceptable. I don't like ASRock's RGB software at all. I don't like their fan setup software. I think that's awful. It has its place in the market. It's cheaper generally for a reason. And I think it's got to the point where ASRock are still competing heavily on price in areas where you can't compete on price, such as R&D and component choice, and also assembly quality. And I think all of that is combined to make ASRock products, at least some of them, to be a little bit more susceptible to damage than other brands. That's my honest opinion. I could be completely wrong. I'm just hypothesizing. I've not been to any of their factories. All I'm going by is boards that I've personally owned, boards that I've used, and also things that I've heard reported. Those could all be completely wrong, but that is my opinion. Jason says, are Gigabyte boards decent? I would, like anything, you can spend a little bit of money and get the bare minimum, or you can spend a lot of money and get top of the range. So it isn't quite as clear cut as this brand is good, this brand is bad. It's kind of, they've all got their own little segments within those segments. So like kind of micro segments. So some Gigabyte boards, the ultra cheap range, are actually really good. but that isn't always the case. So you can't just kind of say one brand is bad. Like ASRock, again, they do some good boards, but it does seem that some of their more mid-range to higher tier boards appear to be the ones which are coming up in the news as being problematic, which then turns it on its head a little bit, because obviously traditionally you would say, well, the cheaper boards should be the ones which have the higher failure rates. That makes sense. It's a cheaper board, cheaper components. People might be overloading them using other cheaper components like cheap power supplies, etc., which may influence how the board performs and how it behaves. But in theory, if you're spending more money on a board, you'd think it would be excellent. Now, MSI, to kind of level it out a little bit and to give a perspective, MSI with the original AM4 boards, the B570 boards, they were pretty bad. And in terms of failure rates, the failure rates were quite high, and also the components they choose to use, like the VRMs, were quite weak. So some of the more expensive X570 boards were actually very poor performers and actually problematic. Luckily, MSI with the B550 range kind of resurrected that completely, and actually most of the B550 range in terms of stability and component choices are actually better than the X570 counterparts. So again, it's always going to be swings and roundabouts. You're going to get some times where things just go wrong. It happens. It's unfortunate, but it does happen. Now, where's my drink? I need a drink. Not used to talking for this long. I am.
Me in your head.
Yeah, I talk in my head a lot. That doesn't strain my throat so much. Rasher says, my new Lian Li Evo DXL case was made in China, even though Lian Li is a Taiwanese computer case and accessories manufacturer. So was it actually made in China, or was it made in Taiwan, but because of the way that those two countries kind of interact, it has to say made in China on it? I'm not sure. I'm asking the question. I don't know. I know there's a lot of stuff which comes from Taiwan, but does actually say made in China on it because of the political side of things. So you can never really tell. It's just confusing. Taiwan, China, China, Taiwan, whatever. Rasher says made in China on the box. That's interesting. Does it say it actually on the case, like on the sticker anywhere? Does it say like design? Because remember, like Apple iPhones, they used to always say designed in California, built in wherever.
Rasher says it says made in China on the box.
Yeah, I just heard that, yeah. But that could be the outer box, not the actual product. David Notice's note is made in China. Taiwan actually makes a lot of stuff in China. Probably for the same reasons that a lot of other countries do, because obviously in China, from what I don't know, I've never been there, but from what I understand, the working conditions aren't necessarily the best. In some instances, the work or the labour is cheaper, so they can get away with paying less. So yeah, for an economic standpoint, making things in China, even if you're not in China, does make a lot of sense. Dave Aiken says that MSI redeemed themselves with the X570 Tomahawk, launched a long time after. Their X570S range were good too.
Go and do something that
Yeah,
redeem
they
yourself.
did. The X570S range were good, or better. Hoof says the world economy is globalized. Well, it kind of is. Whenever you're buying or trading or getting materials from somewhere outside of your native country, you are becoming part of the kind of the globalization of the world, which is quite often a good thing. Sometimes it's a necessity. Sometimes there are raw materials which you simply cannot produce, or you cannot dig out the ground, so to speak, in your native country, so you have to import it. It's one of those things. We are very much a consumer society these days. We buy, and we just keep on buying. The make, do, and mend mentality that we kind of had, or our forefathers had in the older days, is pretty much a thing of the past these days. If something wears out or breaks, you kind of just go and buy a new one because it's generally cheaper to do so, or it's more time efficient to do so. Good case in point, our landline thing, which we've had here for probably 10, 11 years, was starting to fail. Some of the brass contacts were going on the charging bases and the charging wasn't great. And it's like, well, do I take it apart and put in a new charging prong, or do I just buy a new set of phones for like 11 quid? For the sake of 11 quid, was it 16? 16 quid, sorry, 16 pounds.
For a double set of cordless
so
phones.
Two sets of cordless phones with the batteries, the charging bases, all that kind of stuff, just ready to go out of the box. Like, it's going to probably take me a good hour, maybe 2 hours, maybe more, to break the existing one and do a substandard job on it, repairing it. So yeah, we replace it. I am a consumer in that instance because I know for a fact it's just the more time, what's the word I'm there's a more, my time can be spent better elsewhere rather than trying to repair some things.
On the other hand, the oven.
Yeah, on the flip side of that, our oven,
it must have been our 6th or 7th.
Our oven, we've had this oven in our house since we moved in, which was in 2006.
I think we fitted it in, yeah.
2006, 2007. I think it's 2006 we got it. Bought the oven in 2006, and the oven element for the fan oven goes kind of, well, it didn't go for about the first 8 years or so, I think. It lasted for ages. But then subsequent ones I've had to replace kind of every 2 years or so.
I think it went till 2018, did it?
Yeah. Red Brazo says, give that other person a microphone, please. I have offered, but she refuses to use a microphone.
I'll keep quiet.
So yeah, when it comes to things like the oven would be a substantial thing to replace. It's probably a good £300-400, I guess. I don't know. I haven't looked at the prices of ovens recently. And also I'm not able to replace it myself because I'm not an electrician, so I wouldn't dream of doing it. But changing the element is pretty easy to do. It costs about £10-15, and yeah.
A new oven's only going to have a limited life on it anyway.
Yeah, that's it. So there are some things. Sorry, just reading through the chat there. Jason says, my fridge is older than me. It's from 2004 or something like that. We've probably got stuff here which is from the 90s. What's that?
Speakers.
Oh yeah, our speakers, our PC speakers. Both our desktop PC speaker sets are from 1995 or 96.
You're from the 70s.
Red Brazo says she should shut up then. It's just mumbling. That is very rude. You should not say that. But I have given her the option of having a microphone. She's not replying now. Zero Defect says, I watched that oven video on YouTube and started recommending loads of oven fix videos. Yeah, that was it. Back in the day when we started the channel, or in the early days of the channel, basically anything I had to do around the house or that I bought was basically, right, let's unbox it, or let's install it, or let's show how it's done. Because it was pretty easy. Dave Aiken says, it's just 2 wires. It's not that simple. You have to know how to remove the door if you can't get access to it easily. And quite often they've got specific kind of things which have to be undone, such as you have to remove the light on ours to be able to take off the back panel that hides the element. So it's not just 2 wires. But it is 2 wires. Viali's standing up for you, Kath. He says, Kath is our friend. That was insulting. Yes, I agree. Kath likes to get involved, but she doesn't want to use a microphone. She has a phobia against microphones. It can't be helped. Sky Stalker says, yeah, Kath is royalty here. Exactly. Oh, she's smiling away to herself now. Rick says, if you're going to badmouth Kath, sod off. I think we've made the point clear. Dan Marr says, my washer dryer set is from 1993. Excellent. Who says early winter sucks, body is still used to summer. Well, we're in the UK. The UK has some very strange weather, for those of you that are not aware. So because we're an island, we are influenced by a lot of things, such as the sea and also the polar vortex, because we're northern hemisphere. So the Gulf Stream, or jet stream, or whatever you want to call it, kind of normally goes somewhere just alongside of Ireland, then along the top of Scotland, the north of England. And that stream, when it kind of dips up and down, as it tends to, with the change in the climates, etc., sometimes you get that cold air pulled down from the north when the jet stream drops down in pressure and intensity, or when the jet stream kind of ramps up a bit, we get the kind of the African continent weather moving up through Europe and then into England. So yeah, we kind of, it's funny when you see the weather reports and you say about global warming, a lot of people in the UK are like, yes, climate change, global warming, please can we have some of that? It would be great. Because we are used to kind of roughly around about 300 days of rain a year. Or cloud a year, I should say, probably. Cloudy days, about 300 days a year. So to get a couple of weeks of nice weather is absolutely fantastic. So when the jet stream pushes up, it's great. We get a bit of warmth, and that African plume, I think they call it, comes up. It's really nice. It's enjoyable, but then it only happens for a very, very short time. So by the time you kind of get acclimatized to the warmer weather, then the cold snap comes in, you're like, oh my God. So yeah, trying to get used to any weather in the UK is horrendous. We go to Spain, well, we don't personally, we have been to Spain, but people go to Spain. And you go to Spain and you go around there and there's like, they have electrical kind of dispensing machines, like water machines or Coca-Cola or Pepsi machines outside on the streets, plugged into the mains. It's like, well, that's pretty weird. Having the electrical things plugged in outside. So if you did that in the UK, they wouldn't last a season because the rain would come down and just electrocute yourself. So yeah, it's the weather is a big thing, especially for us in the UK, because it is so changeable. And when we get changes of weather, the extremes, everyone's like, oh my God, it's too hot. Then it's like, oh my God, it's too cold, or oh, it's too windy, or it's too wet. It's always too something here. It never really stabilizes long enough to us to acclimatize. Anyway, oh yeah, and then we get hosepipe ban. Yeah.
But you don't get a refund.
Yeah, no water refund on your water rates, which is unfortunate. Anyway, we need to talk about technology. We should be talking about technology because this is a technology channel, allegedly, rather than just some baldy old git moaning on. So, there's a few videos which are coming out which are in the pipeline at the moment, one of which, oh, that is not that, so I'm going to move that. It's not relevant. One of which is one which I've been working on, a couple of videos. Some of you may have seen parts of these videos already. I've got myself a U-Green NAS, which I'm very, very pleased about. This is the NAS in here. It is still a work in progress. So this is the DX4800 Plus. Some of you have probably seen this on things like Kickstarter, which is kind of, I guess, a bit regrettable, but excellent prices. 4-bay NAS, has 2 additional bays for NVMe storage. All metal construction. It is built like an absolute tank. Comes with 2.5 gigabit Ethernet and 10 gigabit Ethernet built in. Comes out the box with 8 gigs of RAM installed already, which is kind of market leading in terms of a 4-bay NAS. And also it's got a 128 gigabyte SSD inside for kind of putting the operating system and kind of that sort of stuff on there, or the boot up. It's got HDMIs. Is an NAS like a personal Google Drive? Yes, effectively. It is a much more secure method of maintaining copies or storing data. There's a lot of people these days, especially like here in the UK, there's just been a major cyber attack on the co-op, the cooperative, which is a very wide base of shops in the UK covering pretty much, I think, England, Ireland, Scotland and Wales. I believe there's a co-op store in pretty much everywhere, and I believe they might even be overseas as well, but mostly here in the UK. Co-op's been around since, I think, like the 1800s or something. They've been around a long time, and potentially it looks like their security system has been around a long time as well, and has kind of been overlooked, or someone's been hacked somewhere along the line. So at the moment, cooperative stores are struggling to order stock. They are under ransom at the moment, which I believe they are refusing to pay, which they should do. I don't know. Yeah, Co-op do loads of things. They do shops, like supermarkets and little high street stores. They also do funeral directors and milk deliveries and kind of all sorts of stuff. There's loads of stuff they do. So I'm not too sure if the funeral services are still going ahead or not. I think that's a different side of the business. But in terms of the shops, they're struggling to order in stock like fresh produce. The shelves are very, very empty indeed. We've got one local to us, which we shop at most days, to be fair. And I went in there, I think on Wednesday, I think was the last time I went in there. And the refrigerated section was extremely bare. There was basically like empty shelves, and also kind of fresh meats and stuff like that. Very, very empty. And they did get to the point where they were unable to take PIN payments or contactless payments at some point, I think, as well. So yeah, it's not great. And long story short, potentially if they didn't have their data open, now I'm not saying this is how it happened, but if they kept their storage to themselves, perhaps not keeping it online, potentially they might not be in the situation they are in. Or if they had their data protected and were able to kind of restore data should it become compromised, then it's a really sensible thing to do. I've been using a NAS here at home for I think 5, maybe 6 years now, I'm not entirely sure, and it's great. I love the fact that all of the PCs here that we use are backed up on a daily basis. Things like our important information for tax purposes, which legally you're required to keep, and also keep secure as well, part of the is it GPRN or something? There's some data protection thing which you're supposed to adhere to and what have you. You can get fined if you don't, if you keep people's information on files, etc, etc. So yeah, keeping that stuff secure. Even things such as kind of basic is when I create a YouTube video, as soon as it's finished, I edit it actually locally on my machine. When I finish editing and the video's uploaded to YouTube, I always transfer all the footage over to the NAS. So should there be a problem with the video or I need to re-edit it or do anything, I've still got the footage there, but it's not bogging down my main machine. I don't need to spend tons and tons of money on drives to fit in my PC to keep all that data, so I can just offload it onto my NAS. So should I need to refer back to it, I've got it there, I can re-edit it, etc, etc. And then after 6 to 9 months, I go through and I delete all of the kind of project files and just keep the raw YouTube file, just in case I ever need that. It's just a great way of keeping your data safe and secure, and it doesn't cost an absolute fortune. And if you're paying for services already, such as OneDrive or Google Drive, whatever, you're paying quite a lot of money, especially if you're getting into the kind of the terabytes of data. If you're underneath a terabyte of data, it's probably not too expensive, but as you go over that kind of terabyte limit, especially if you're backing up your PCs, which obviously you should do really, it starts to get expensive online. And also it's potentially open to all kinds of things being hacked, even if it's encrypted potentially. Who knows what's going to happen. So at least if you've got it actually on a physical medium in your house, then it's just one of those little peace of mind things. Depending on how many PCs you've got and how much data you've got and how much you value your data, then you may or may not be interested in one of these. But at the moment, with our previous NAS provider, Synology, going down somewhat of a murky rabbit hole and insisting that all new Synology NAS use Synology hard disk drives and SSDs, which are essentially exactly the same as the ones that come from your Western Digitals, your Seagates, etc., but incredibly more expensive and with a different firmware on them. It's basically going down that whole kind of Apple route of just charging you the earth for storage, which I personally don't want to do, and I'm trying to get away with. So this is why this has come in absolutely perfect timing for us. Yes, Kath? Whose? Which part? Oh, can you run REFS, redundant file system? I don't think you can. Possibly, I'm not entirely sure. I don't know a great deal about NAS operation, I'll be honest with you. And that is another reason why this is basically perfect. Because the operating system on here, which is the UGOS, I think, yeah, UGOS Pro, the operating system is very, very simplified. So if you've ever thought about getting a NAS before, or maybe you've even thought about building your own DIY one, and you've watched videos on things like TrueNAS, maybe Synology, QNAP, etc., and you've looked at it and thought, oh God, like that looks really complicated. The operating system for this effectively feels very much like a mobile OS. It feels like Android. a cross between Android and Windows. So it's actually very, very easy to use. And also for actually mapping drives or gaining access to your NAS on your phone is extremely simple. You download one app and you basically got access to everything, your pictures, your videos, your files, etc., even the admin interfaces and stuff. It's very, very good. And the price of this at the moment, I think there are always offers on, or not always offers, but you know what I mean. There's quite often offers on. So originally, I think the MSRP for this was about £550 to £600, but there has been numerous offers on where this has been kind of £450, I think, which again is still quite a chunk of cash. And you still have to buy hard drives to put inside it. But in terms of the competition, if you look at the equivalent of this in Synology, which kind of doesn't exist at the moment, you're looking about £550, £600. So this is generally going to be the cheaper option, and especially if it comes to, if you're looking between this and Synology, which Ugreen are looking as if they're going to be kind of like, if not the number one, at least in the top 2 players in the NAS industry. They're really, really going for it. So hopefully they are going to be more competitive on price, and also they have kind of reassured the public that they are going to remain very open in terms of what you can install. So RAM, you can install basically whatever RAM you want to. It uses DDR5 SODIMMs. Hard drives, you can use basically whatever you want to. Supports up to 116 terabytes of storage in this one. And when it comes to NVMe storage for either cache or read-write, whatever, you can use basically any NVMEs you want as well. So it's a very, very open system, and it's building. And the fact they've only been on the market, well, in the UK for a few months, I think it is now, it's looking very, very promising. I've said years ago, I would always find it very, very hard to get away from Synology because it is a very, very good piece of software, but the hardware is so damn expensive, which again is basically like Apple. It's doing the same thing. Yeah, so this is a fantastic bit of kit. It looks great. It works great. It's very quiet. It doesn't use a great deal of power. Very easy to use. Again, if you're thinking of a NAS and you're a bit terrified with the software, this is super, super simple. It really, really is. Video's coming out on that shortly, so I will. You'll be seeing more of that coming up very shortly. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say this because there's an NDA, but I've got a graphics card that I'll be reviewing, but the drivers aren't available yet. Some of you may know what I mean by that. Some of you may not, but yeah, there's a graphics card coming out very, very shortly, which hasn't got pre-release drivers at the moment. So yeah, I'm interested to I'm interested how that's all going to pan out, because I can't do a day one video release if there's no drivers for it. So I'm a little bit It's all looking very good at the moment. Looking at the specs, other than one spec which is kind of like okay, here we go again, but the rest of the specs actually look really good on paper. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting time. We'll see how that goes. That one live stream, Jay Gordon says. That's actually a fantastic idea. As soon as the drivers go live, we will live stream it. That's a very good idea.
When you guys are talking about an old PC, can you read that one?
Yeah. When you guys are talking about an old PC, do you just stack it with hard disk drives and call it a NAS? Well, you can do. You can just get an old PC running Windows 7, well, probably not Windows 7, that's probably a bad idea. But Windows 10, Windows 11 PC, just stick a bunch of hard drives in there and you can create SMB shares, so you can share it across your network. That's a really easy way of having kind of like a NAS. Alternatively, you can install NAS software such as TrueNAS. There's other ones as well, which I can't think of the names of, because the DIY NAS market doesn't really appeal to me. I do like that kind of turnkey solution where you just basically put your drives in, turn it on, and you're kind of off and running, other than some minor setup details like your username, password, and some shares. I was watching a video on TrueNAS, I think it was yesterday, from, I can't think what his name is now. He wears a yellow hat that says Canada on it, but he's in America. Can't think of his name, but another YouTube creator, let's say. And I was watching it and he was like, this is a basic introduction to TrueNAS. And I was watching it, I was like, I got about 5 or 6 minutes in and I'm kind of like already, and I'm consider myself to be pretty kind of experienced with PC stuff, but it did go over my head. Unraid, yeah, that is another one. Yeah. So, David Adjust has never stopped some YouTubers that post reviews without even seeing the products. Yeah, I do find those quite funny actually. There's one guy actually who I actually know and I've spoken to a couple of times. That is Casey Stern from Camera Conspiracies or Vegetable Police. He's got 2 channels. And yeah, he quite often will do a review or an opinion piece on like a new camera which has come out, even though they haven't sent him one. Just going from the specs and stuff and talking about it. So yeah, I know what you mean there. You do see people do it. And also you get some channels which I don't like news channels. I don't like these kind of like really bombastic news channels. There's a couple that spring to mind, one of which is Gamer Meld. Some of you may absolutely love that sort of content. I find it extremely frustrating. It's all right for like if you dip in and dip out. But if you're subscribed to the channel and you watch it kind of every other day or whenever a new video comes out, it's basically the same stuff that almost every other news outlet is talking about. It just gets really frustrating. Most of it is all just hype and kind of like, oh, this is coming out. This is going to be the best thing ever. Ryzen 10,000 series coming soon. It's like, maybe we should talk about it when it actually comes out. Like, yeah, it's nice to have a little bit of hype, but when it's the same stuff over and over, it just really drives me insane. The Gentleman Bad Boy says, hate Gamer Meld's voice. I don't mind his voice, and I don't mind him as a person. He seems like a really lovely guy. He seems really into what he's doing. It's just that kind of type of content, really, that kind of news content. Even so much, I would say, I'm going to get some stick for this, and even though I like him a lot, Paul's Hardware, I like Paul's Hardware channel a lot, but the news updates, they all seem to do it. They all have these things, like UFD Tech as well. It's like the same stuff every day, and I kind of like watching YouTube for content, for like interesting stuff, but it's got to the point it's like watching the news on normal terrestrial TV where it's basically every single channel talking from exactly the same script, giving you exactly the same news. So you don't need multiple channels, you just probably need just 1, maybe 2, just to get some perspective, but then you get like 20, 30 channels all talking about the same stuff. It's like, oh, please, just let's have something new. Anyway, that's... That's my my 2 penneth worth. Hoove says 5060 equals 4060 plus 5%. Review done. I would disagree. I've looked at the specs, I've looked at the hardware, and the 5060 on paper looks to be roughly about, well, anywhere up to 25% more powerful than the 4060. Now, don't get me wrong, the 4060 wasn't massively powerful compared with the 3060. Let's be honest. It was basically the same thing, but with much reduced power requirements. So the 5060 has an opportunity to shine, other than the one redeeming thing which we're all a little bit pissed about. Yes, Kath?
Jason Woods.
Jason Woods. What's Jason Woods asking? Hello, Jason Woods. How you doing? Off topic? We can do off topic after a while. Jason was asking a question here. When I'm having a voice chat on WhatsApp on my PC, my mic keeps on dropping within 3 minutes ever since I reinstalled Windows 11. Is there something in Windows 11 doing this? I would probably suggest uninstall your audio drivers. If your microphone is plugged into your PC sound card or your onboard sound, this is definitely going to be a thing. Uninstall your drivers for the sound card. Then go to your motherboard manufacturer's website, download the latest drivers from the manufacturer and install them. Quite often what Windows 11 will do, or any version of Windows when you're installing or updating or upgrading, or even Windows updates sometimes, Windows will try and install the drivers it thinks is best, which will normally be the Windows Hardware Qualified Labs driver, which isn't always right. And because there's a lot of sound cards, especially ones from Realtek, which are all very, very similar, sometimes it can pick the wrong driver and basically mess up your shit. So uninstall the driver, reinstall the one from the manufacturer's website, you should be good to go. There is a super chat from our good friend Rasher. Oh, that's come up different. I just saw this fella going up a hill with a wheelbarrow full of horseshoes, 4-leaf clovers and rabbit's feet. I thought he's pushing his luck. Ba-bum! Thank you, Rasher. That's come up differently on my screen for some reason now. I like that. Excellent stuff. Thank you, Rasher. Much appreciated. Very generous.
No more super chats, man.
No more super chats. Cap's gone for a piss. Right, let's get back to what we were saying, or see if there's any other questions. Dan Morris says, Casey's hilarious. His computer-related videos are so funny. He's a fellow Canuck, so I may be biased. Yeah, Casey Stern over at Camera Conspiracies stroke Vegetable Police, because he does camera reviews, etc. He edits videos as well for YouTube. And he's just taken the switch to a Mac, which I think he's been trying not to do for a long time. And I don't think he's getting on very well with it. He's got a very, very short attention span and also a very, very quick temper. So whenever he can't get something working, he goes a little bit off on one. I've actually had a few emails with him when he was doing his previous upgrades, trying to kind of help him and guide him. And I tried to guide him on his upgrades, and he basically did almost exactly the opposite of what I suggested for him to do. And then he complained that his PC wasn't editing the files as he expected. It's like, dude, I told you already. I know he probably has a lot of people telling him like what he should be doing and what to spend his money on, but yeah, it's just like, you should have listened. David Under says, Lian Li 207 digital cakes review. Yes, we should get on with that actually. Let's have a look, see if there's any more. Ira Wolfman says, cases are getting too expensive and overloaded with useless accessories, but that's because PC sells for 2 to 6k these days instead of 600 to 250, 2,500. I actually agree. There are a lot of cases on the market at the moment. I would say one of the cases in point at the moment is a new release, the Fractal Meshify 3, which I think is an absolute abomination. I actually don't like the design of it. I think it's kind of like 2015 called and they want their case back. It just looks like a blown up version of a GameMax case that I had years ago. I think it was the Strike maybe, or not the Strike, can't think what it was. It's basically an old MSI, an old GameMax case, which was fine, but it was like 40 quid. Whereas the Fractal Meshify 3 is, I think if you go for the high end or the top of the range one with the RGB stuff, it's like £220. It's a case. 220 quid for a case. They're taking a leaf out of Height's book. Don't get me started on Height. Height cases as well. I don't like them at all. I don't know what it is. I just don't like them, and they seem very, very expensive. Don't like them. Anyway, there you go. Afernandez. I can't pronounce that. I'm trying, but I can't. I've got a dilemma. I've built a new system, but my old MSI 3090 isn't worth upgrading to a 9070 XT or a 5070 Ti or potentially a 5080. I can't make up my mind about these new GPUs. I would say, in all honesty, now the 3090 has got two things going for it, and it's got two things against it. The two things against it is the power draw, it's pretty insane. And also its age. Maybe not so much, but those are the two things I would say. When it comes to other sort of things going for it, loads of VRAM, and you've already got it. So if you were to look at something replacing a 3090, depending on the version you've got, you're probably looking at a 4080 Super to have a meaningful kind of upgrade. You're going to be spending a lot of money. So it's always, I'm in a very similar situation where I've got some reasonably high-end graphics cards and I'm looking around at upgrade potential offerings and it's like, well, what do I actually buy? What actually makes sense? It's a really, really tough market at the moment. Prices are obviously coming down a little bit, at least here they are, but they're still not great. They're still nowhere near what we had pre-COVID. I've still harked back to the 10 series. Please, baby Jesus, can we have another 10 series? That'd be great. Yeah, I don't know. I honestly don't know. If you've got a 3090 and you're happy with it and it does what you need it to do, it's probably worth staying with it. Unless you are very kind of concerned about your energy bills. In which case you could potentially get a significant saving by upgrading to a 40 series, but is it going to be a huge difference? It's a very difficult thing. I know when it comes to making a logical decision, the logical choice is don't change it because there's no need. But there's the want. That is what drives us as PC enthusiasts and gamers, etc. You've got the need, you've got the want, and you've got the logic. And those three never really mix very well. The logical choice, stick with what you got, it's absolutely fine. The want and the need is the ones which you're going to really struggle with. And it's like, well, if you've got the money and you really want it, then yeah, just do it. Treat yourself, enjoy it, make the most of it. Maybe sell the old 3090 to recoup some of the costs. You probably get a decent price for it. But if you're not in a position where you've got a little bit of extra cash, things are a little bit tight and you want a meaningful upgrade, it's tough. It really is tough.
Have you got a t-shirt, Tom?
Yeah, a little bit. Ashley Strachan, damn, 1 hour late. Even all, hope you're all well and enjoying the weather. Yeah, it's been great. Loving it.
With the t-shirt on.
Ricky, it's not been the warmest today. It's been nice. It's been sunny, but we've still got a bit of a northerly wind coming through, which is like dropping the actual air temperature a bit. So it's not like you can go like full on moves out weather out in the back garden, but it's actually towards the later part of the afternoon. I was thinking, do I go and put on a hoodie? That was what the weather was like. Kath's got her hoodie on.
And all the cats are in, so it's not that nice.
Yeah, the cats are all in, so they're like, ugh, freezing. Greg M says it's a balmy 6 degrees C here after 35 C earlier this week. Wow.
It'll be Canada.
Yeah, is that Canada? Okay. Anyway, I promised you a look at the case, so let's do that. Because this case, I know in the thumbnail, it's kind of like a little bit misleading, really.
Yeah, Canada.
I have put in there that the Lian Li 207 digital is finally a case for grown-ups. A little bit tongue-in-cheek, firmly tongue-in-cheek actually with that, because obviously it doesn't matter if you're a grown-up or whoever you are. I just think it's nice that Lian Li have got a case which has a more kind of sleek and professional look to it. It isn't all gaudy, it hasn't got all kind of... Yeah. It's a mature case. It basically does everything you need and a little bit more. Isn't ridiculously priced. Like, it's still 100 quid for a case, which is still quite a lot of money. But if it's a quality case, it's got good airflow, keeps your stuff cool, and also has got an LCD screen so you can monitor your stats and stuff. It's not horrible. I quite like the case. When I did the review of the original 207, which was probably a good 6 months ago, or maybe more, maybe even a year by now. The original 207 was great, liked it. And I actually like the RGB fans. And I kind of missed them a little bit on this version. But anyway, I'll let you guys be the decider on that. Let's go and get the case and potentially let's get a beer. Oh, I've got a rip in my trousers.
Oh.
What's that?
Can you bring me in some cheddars?
Yeah.
Thank you. Do you want some?
Cheddars. That cupboard smells like Bovril, like vitamin B. Is it B vitamin? Yeah, B vitamins. So I don't know. Right, coming through. So I'll make sure I haven't got any labels left on here. I don't think I have. Right, quickly show you the box. Right, actually, I'll get rid of that text at the bottom of the screen. That cleared it? Yes, it appears to. Okay, so Lian Li 207 digital, 455.6 millimeters long, 456 millimeters in height, so kind of square, and only 219 millimeters wide, so actually quite a compact case. It is ATX, and it's kind of redesigned how ATX works. So the power supply is now in a new position, so the power supply now fits in this front section. And also you've got the fans on the bottom there blowing straight into the path of your GPU. loads of space on the top for your radiators, fans, etc. And you've got 4 fans as standard built in. So you've got 2 120s in the bottom, and you've got 2 140s at the top section there, front section rather. Also, spin that round, you can see there, so this is the kind of like the main key points of it. So ATX layout, got the screen on the bottom here. The screen is 720 by 1600 pixels, 60 hertz, uses the L-Connect software, customizable backgrounds with hardware monitoring, etc. if you want to. And that basically is kind of it. So let's take it out of the box and have a look. I know. That's what I'll get in a minute. Right, get the accessories out of the way, and then we'll get the PC out of the box. Or get the case out of the box rather. We'll just try not to get too much static. Yeah, I am very seriously considering, no static, I'm very seriously considering using this for my video editing PC build. Because it ticks a lot of the boxes which I want. And I'll go through some of those as we take it apart and discuss it in more depth. I like Lian Li cases in general. I don't like Lian Li L-Connect software. And I don't like some of their overpriced fans. But in general, I quite like Lian Li. Ever since some of the early cases, I think they were one of the first to do a aluminum or aluminium case, as it's known.
Did you do Nick Barnes' question?
No, it wasn't. What was Nick's question?
Is the screen included for the £100?
The screen is included for the £100.
I think my cheddar fetish got a bit ahead of me there.
So you can see the case. I'll try not to move that around too much because you'll get reflecto porn off the sides there. So you can see you've got this big 6-inch screen, which is effectively the same size roughly as an iPhone 16 Plus. So if you like using an iPhone 16 Plus, you're going to be very well off there. The screen, you don't have to turn it on if you don't want to. You can have it turned off. Also, whilst the PC is turned off, but still getting USB power, you can have it so it actually displays the time and or the date.
Jason,
so that's kind of nice. Cheers, Jason. So in terms of an actual PC, I think it looks really nice. It's very understated. You've got some nice clean lines on there. I'm sure Dave Aitken would say that yes, it looks very nice and clean because he is the designer. He designs shit, I think. Nick Barnes says, question, will it fit on the shelf? Yes, but it's not going on the shelf behind me. It's going on the shelf above my desk on the other side of the room.
It's not the shelf, it's the roof of your desk.
Yeah, it's basically the roof of my desk, the roof, as they say in America. So yeah, realistically, if you go for the standard 207, which comes actually with RGB fans, that's about £70 to £80 at the moment. If you get this version with the non-RGB, but with the screen, is about £100. Now,
Dutch clock in his house, you don't need that.
Dutch Jan's got a clock. Well, you're a lucky person, aren't you? Not everyone can afford a clock or a watch. Now, just for some comparison, as we all know, I am somewhat of a Thermaltake fanboy. Thermaltake's LCD panel kit, which goes in the Series 500 and various other models, this LCD panel on its own, which is only like 3.9 inches, so 4-inch screen, this screen on its own is normally in and around the sort of £80 to £100 mark. So the choice is like, buy this or buy this. It's pretty much a no-brainer. Which is a very Americanism thing to say, I know, and I apologise profusely. Right, let's get some more light on. There.
Guess what Vianney thinks of it?
Vianney likes it.
I do like that. IO needs to be front or side though.
Unfortunately, the I/O is on the top, which is a little, but there's minimal I/O, so there is that to it. And actually, we could take a look at the I/O. Let's do that first of all. We can do that on the overhead camera.
Not very big feet. Looks a bit restricted.
So I'm not too sure how well this is going to come out on camera because it is quite dark. But, so in terms of your front panel connectivity, you've got a USB Type-C, you've got your combo mic headphone jack, you've got your power button, nice clicky button, and you've got two USB 3.0 ports Type A. So for me, that's fine. I would have liked to have seen maybe a separate headphone mic jack, but having said that, these days a lot of devices are actually coming with combo jacks. So maybe we're starting to see the end of having two separate ones. I don't know. Let me know what you think.
Silver thinks he hates them.
The top section here, so this is all of basically mesh, pretty much the entire layout. To remove the top panel, there's a little latch on the back, which we'll lean that forward, you can just about see there against the background.
Gary Holzman.
Gary Holzman, how you doing? I'm doing a live build video with the 207 Digital on Friday. Ah, excellent. So taking the top off is very easy to do. Just pops off. You've got those little metal kind of push pins or nipples or whatever you want to call them. I'm not too sure. And then all you need to do, you've got the plastic inserts. Now the plastic inserts on these, they do get brittle over time. But Lian Li have actually included in the accessories box, not only have they said thank you for your purchase, because they like us, honest, it comes with a set of replacement plastic clips as well. So if you do break them, you can pop them in. Yes, ma'am.
Good point. Our Wolfman, IO on top usually means PC under desk, but then the screen would be on the floor.
Yeah, that is, yeah. I think they should have put the IO on down the side, or even underneath the display. I'm not a big fan of IO on the top personally, but it kind of is what it is. So, open construction. So, unlike a lot of cases these days, Lian Li like airflow, and they've cut out almost all of the top section. Now they've left it so you can have options on the top. So you can have either a 360mm radiator or a 280. So you've got options there for the 120 mounts there or the 140 mounts there. You can also put in fans if you want to, obviously. So 3 120mm fans or 2 140mm fans. I think this is realistically screaming out for a 360mm rad, but obviously you don't need to. The reason why you don't need to is because the motherboard tray is actually recessed into the bodywork. So you can fit up to 180mm CPU cooler in here, which is absolutely huge. So if you are into air cooling, you want to keep things simple and understated, then you can put in the biggest air coolers on the market and still have tons and tons of room. So it doesn't look squashed, which is excellent. I like that a lot. So that is the top section. And those just bang into position. Whilst we're looking at this view, we'll take a look at the bottom.
Jan, I think.
That's
That
Jan.
is a question, actually, is it?
That's Jan. I can't see where to.
It's right at the bottom. Q
That's Jan.
420.
No 420s, unfortunately. That's Jan. So on the bottom here, again, I'm sorry about the contrast of the image. It's not brilliant, but anyway. So the feet on here, they are a little bit on the shallow side. I said that on the 207, the normal version. So this is, yeah, again, similar sort of deal. You can actually get a 3D print of this. So if you want to extend the feet upwards a little bit, you can actually get a very easy 3D printed thing. What's the word I'm looking for? An STL file. So you can print out adjustable, yeah, thing. You can get these feet, you can actually make them bigger if you want to. So that is potentially something you might want to do. Because we've now got the power supply towards the front of the case, you've also got the filter at the front of the case. So you've got a nice nylon, easy flow mesh, and also you've got hexagonal mesh, which is great for airflow. That's absolutely fine. So in terms of your power supply, the power supply is actually as well separated from the bottom by about an inch to half an inch. So even if this is completely choked off, your power supply is still going to be able to breathe. So I do like the fact they've done that as a kind of like a bit of an option. Let's take a look at the front of the case. He says, manipulating. So go back to the main camera. So taking a look at the front of the case, which you've already seen a little bit anyway. So the mesh panel here, this is your filtration, and easy to remove. There's a little kind of gap at the top there, so you can just about get your thumbnail in and just push it out. It is on magnets, that old tried and tested technology, and it's got quite a nice satisfying clunk when it goes in. I like that. So that's easily removable for cleaning, etc. And it's actually pretty rigid, considering it is only kind of like a porous mesh. And that then reveals the two fans. Now these fans are a little bit different and a little bit special because these are 30mm fans. So because the fact it's 30mm, you've got a little bit more room inside of the motor housing, so you can have a stronger motor. Stronger motor means higher static pressure and potentially less noise because it's a more substantial base for the rotor to spin on, so you don't get so much of that fan wobble, which can create turbulence, noise, etc. Also, because the fact the motor is that little bit deeper, it's actually made it so the fan blades can come right up to the edge of the actual fan surround. So it's basically pulling as much air as it possibly can. And also the blades are designed for kind of like a hybrid between static and air pressure. So you've got 9 blades on there, and it just gives you a lot of airflow going through there. Also, they've designed the kind of the outer section, which kind of wants to taper airflow in towards this area. So I think it's been done really nicely. It's very, again, understated. Also, what they've done...
Compliment, the front is done right.
It is. I think it's done brilliantly. It's basically using up essentially all of the available space, and also it's using 140mm fans. So if you don't like these fans, or you decide at a later date, actually, I'm going to join the circus, I want to put a boatload of RGB in there, you can put in your 140mm fans. I was looking around for some then. You can put in your one...
I just said the face is no disco lights, as you were saying.
Yeah, you can, obviously, if you want to, you can swap those fans out. Realistically, for the case itself, the fans are probably not a huge amount of the cost. So if you do want to upgrade it, then you can do. That is up to you. But something they've done, which is actually really nice, is the fans are actually wired together. So even though you've got 2 physical fans, you've only got 1 PWM plug. So that's really nice in terms of cable management. So they're actually managed in around the sides there. And I'm actually looking at this. I don't know how easy it would be to actually put other fans in there. I'm actually tempted to take those fans out and have a look inside and see what the deal is, because that might be something that some of you are considering. And I know, actually, for my own curiosity, I am considering putting in some different fans. Although I would have liked to have put some 120s in, but unfortunately, due to the way that they've actually put these in and mounted them, you cannot use 120s unless, again, you get a little bit creative and get some kind of modification or 3D print up some sort of kind of mounting or housing for it.
Reality, like Fantex M25 Gen 2 fans, but you haven't got any yet.
I haven't, no. Do they come in packs of 3? Or is it a pack of singles or 2s?
The fans are mounted to a tray.
The fans aren't mounted to a tray. Because this is an airflow optimized case, they've tried to remove as much metal or basically anything in the way so they can basically get as much airflow through as possible.
Reality says yes.
Yes, what?
Can't remember the question now, can you?
No, I said, are they 3-pack or singles? I think it's a 3-pack.
Are they a 3-pack?
Yeah, I think it's a 3-pack. Are they, how many mil are they, the fans? Are they 30mm or are they 25mm?
Remember the question for when the answer comes back, goldfish.
Yeah. So let's see, I'm not too sure how these are connected.
Pack of 3, all fixed together, a single 2.
Right, okay. So yeah, there's a little... 25mm, that's fine. So there is a cable which runs through the side there. So hopefully you can see slightly better than I can. There is like a little recess there which these fans fit into. Now, they do come with specific screws to mount in here because it screws into a specific place. So you get 30mm screws. Now, you're probably thinking, well, actually that's a pain in the ass. But it isn't so much of a pain in the ass because there are actually included in the accessories box, there is a 25mm and 28mm fan screws included. So they've thought a bit and they've kind of realised that people might want to change at some point. And potentially you can't buy these fans separately, so if anything does go wrong, you are going to have to kind of, well, sort of wing it a little bit and find something of your own. I can't get these back in now. Oh, what a rookie. Ah, there we go. Those go in there. Yeah, so in terms of actually swapping out fans, it's a little bit challenging with the area inside it because the actual surround here does actually kind of obscure it a little bit. I can't really see it either. It's quite difficult to see, but there is like a plastic kind of inner surround as well. So if you are looking at a simple DIY swap to change out the fans, then you might be a little bit out of luck, unfortunately. But realistically, again, like I said, this, if you're looking at a case, and you're looking at this case in particular, because you are slightly fed up with all the kind of RGB nonsense, and you just want something which is going to be powerful, performant, and basically you can use the fans that come with it in the box, then I think it makes a lot of sense. And they're nice fans. So the RPM of these, I haven't discussed that yet, actually, the RPM of the fans. So the ones that are actually in the front of the case, these are between 450 RPM up to 1800 RPM. The two fans which are in the GPU shroud, which we'll look at shortly, those are between 500 RPM and 1950 RPM. So I have to think about the specs there. They don't always roll off the tongue quite as easily as they should do. But anyway, so again, if this is the case you're looking at, if you're looking at this case and you're thinking, well, actually I want RGB fans, you might as well just get the standard 207, because the 207 comes in both black and also white, and RGB and non-RGB versions. So
What if they want the computer?
yeah, if you want the screen, you're going to have to make a little bit of a compromise and maybe change the fans later. Thing is though, you can also, obviously, it doesn't stop you putting RGB inside the PC. So if you want to put RGB strips in, you want to put RGB RAM in, you want to put RGB AIO, all of that RGB is still going to bleed through, and you're still going to see it through there because of how open it is, that no metal behind there. So you're going to have a lot of light bleeding out anyway. So if you want to go nuts with RGB inside, you can do, without needing to replace the fans. That's always an option. Let's put that back in. So yeah, we've got the screen on the bottom. So well, let's fire up the screen now, and I'll show you how that works.
Solution, the fans 1 inch to the top. Front I/O between the fans and the screen.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea.
Touchdown, that was better.
Hold on, Dutch Jan. So to power the screen, it uses a standard USB header. So this is for USB 2. If for some reason, and it's actually handy for review purposes, if you don't have a spare USB 2.0 port or header on your motherboard, which some might not, it's unlikely, but you never know. So they actually come with an adapter. So this converts the motherboard header type USB to a normal type A. And all you do is match up the pins as you would normally,
Crunch.
which I never get right the first time. I did actually. And also there is a PCI Express pass-through bracket, which has got a little cutout on there, so you can pass the cable through without crimping it, which I think is, yes, is a very nice, cute design. So that can be passed up through, out through the cable, and then you can plug that into the back of your motherboard, into just a normal USB 2.0 port, and you don't have to use any of your internal headers if they're already in use. So that is excellent. But another side effect of this means I can actually plug this in to my PC to show you the software without actually doing anything. So that's pretty awesome. I'm going to grab myself a USB cable. I've got to decipher now which one of my devices I want to unplug. I'm going to unplug that one. And then I can just plug that into here. So emulating what it'd be like to plug into a normal USB, and there we go. Probably see that booting up now. So it'll say Lian Li. Hopefully you can see that. And yeah, it comes up with the settings which I've already put on there. So let me give you a little bit of a close-up of that, just in case you can't quite see it. There we go. So hopefully you can just about see that. The lights are probably not doing a particularly good job of that at the moment. Actually, no, it's coming out.
Big trail.
A sky. comes with built-in chemtrails. They just finished pumping those out. So you can see there, the RAM is using 10 gigabytes of RAM at the moment. Our CPU temp is at 47C. GPU is currently running at 49, and then at the bottom you've got your CPU usage and your GPU usage. So yeah, that's pretty cool, you might think, and you'd be right, because it kind of is. But if you go into the L-Connect software, you can then go into, actually, let me put this onto the other screen. And make it bigger, hang on a second, bear with me. Ugh. Okay. Right, I'm going to have to, actually I can see through the case, that's awesome. I'm going to put this onto the desktop stream. And there, that is the interface. You can see the chat there as well, so I can see it as well, so you're seeing what I can see. So you go into, oh, I just moved the bloody USB cable. Sorry, my USB extension cable is from the 90s, I think. So you go into the 207 digital. Oh, please recheck the equipment, you swine. Unplug. Please don't let me have broken it live on a stream. That would be most unfortunate. Hey, there we go, we're back. 207 digital, please recheck. So let's see if I can make it force that on. Is that working? Lian Li, no, it's booting up. Sorry about this, it is booting up currently. Don't know if I've got to disconnect it altogether. Oh, flipping heck. Right, I'm going to plug it into the other port, because I plugged it into a different port the other day. Oh, come on. 207 digital, is that booted up now? Oh dear. What have I done? I've broken something. Was it in this connector? Let me see. Bear with me. Right, for some reason the software is not wanting to load, and I don't understand quite why. Right, I'm going to unplug for a little bit. We'll go back to the main camera. Oh, I can't see the main camera now, can I? Because I'm zoomed in the other way. Right, yeah, I'm not too sure what's actually happened there, because I had the software running, but it wasn't actually firing up properly for some bizarre reason. I don't quite understand why that is. I don't know whether it's because L-Connect wasn't working. Really.
The rear of the case will be intake. If so, isn't there mesh to stop dust there?
No, not a great deal. They've kind of designed it so that it's going to be predominantly... How can I explain it? With there are some things you have to kind of compromise with. So if you want lots of airflow, you can't have too many restrictions. So if you have too many restrictions, then it ends up that you can put as many fans as you want, but the air's not going to go anywhere. Let me try and plug this back in again, see if it'll work.
The background be turned off. I'm assuming
yes. Yes, you can. Let's see if this will boot up now. I've unplugged it for a little while.
Dave Aiken says it looks nice, but a gimmick for me.
It is a little bit, yeah. I would agree, actually. Why is that not working? This is working perfectly. I've already done the video review and I went through, showed all the different software things. The only thing which I've changed is, where is the L-Connect software? Oh, L-Connect's not running. Right, is that running now? I think I might have broken it. That'd be fun. 27 digital, recheck. I've already rechecked it. Stop making me do things. Settings, right. Auto reboot. Okay. I'm going to kill the software off a minute, so we'll... I think it's a L-Connect thing, or maybe I've just damaged it. I'm not too sure. Where's L-Connect service? End task. End task. Is L-Connect still running? No.
Can you play adverts on little screen so it doesn't spoil stream on monitor?
That's not a bad idea. Right, that is still plugged in, isn't it? I think I've actually broken it. Unbelievable.
How have you broken it?
I don't know. I'm kind of wondering that myself.
Screen's lit up. It's not now, but it is now.
Yeah, it's not showing in the L-Connect software, which is a bit of a pain. I think I may have to reboot the system, but I can't really reboot the system.
Play that footage from your video you did.
Yeah, I do.
There it is.
Is that working? I wonder if I've damaged one of these pins on this, because it does feel a little bit loose in there now. You can't plug it in the wrong way. Come on, work, you swine.
No reset button on the screen?
No. I don't think it needs one, because L-Connect's not running there. L-Connect. Right, run as administrator. Yeah, I think there must be a service in the background which needs to start on startup, which is not running. I'm not going to restart the PC for that. That is ludicrous. Anyway, I can't show you that because I'll have to restart the PC.
But it's in your review video.
It's in the review video. You'll see it anyway. How embarrassing. Gosh darn it. I wonder if I can get that closer to the PC. I wonder if it's...
Wolfman, this would piss me off if this happened.
It would piss me off also.
Hello, Bobby.
Yeah, that's not long enough. It might be because I was using the extension, but I don't think it is. I think it's to do with the software on there. Tell you what I'll do. I've got my laptop. I will get my laptop. That'll be actually a lot easier thing to do. Because then it's not going to interfere with any other software which is on there. So let's fire up my laptop very quickly. And we'll install L-Connect. And try and recover from this travesty. I bet this hasn't got any charge in it, eh?
You're getting into conflict zones.
Yeah. Ah, yeah, it's got charge in it. Excellent. Fire up the old trusty HP 245. I think this is. I so little use this laptop, it's ridiculous. But it could get me out of a jam. So I'm not going to diss it too much because it might be my saving grace. We've got internet? Yes, we have. Okay. Right, let's get L-Connect installed. So Lian Li L-Connect. I do love the keyboard actually on this laptop. It's really nice. Check your settings. Yeah, whatever. I don't even know what that said, to be honest. Right, L-Connect 3. Again, I do apologise for this. Most unfortunate. As these things do happen when you do things live, it can't really be helped. Right, L-Connect 3. Downloading. How long is that going to take? One download in progress.
What happened to it? I wasn't
It's
here.
fine. I'm not too sure. I think it's because I was using the USB extension cable, and to be fair, this USB extension cable, you can tell it's had a lot of abuse. And when I'm not using it, I normally kind of bundle it up and tie it up into a knot, which, as you can see by the way it's kind of naturally going back into that. So that's how I normally store it. So I think I've probably damaged the cable, possibly, but it could just be because it was unplugged and replugged a few times that it needed the service to be restarted for L-Connect. Very much like iQ. If you've ever used iQ, you know sometimes if you get like kind of weird bugs with that, you just end up just restart the PC and it's all fine. But we'll find out now in case I have actually destroyed it. I may have. You never know. Right, that's still downloading. The L-Connect 3 software is actually quite chunky as well. 777 megabytes. And then I think it needs to decompress as well. But if you're using the L-Connect suite for your Lian Li fans, Lian Li ecosystem, I was going to say.
This is the reason we return every week, Mike. You just never know what will happen.
It's true, you never do. It's these things are sense trash.
Into a monitor.
Oh, so you guys can see it. Right, let's get L-Connect installed. Have I turned on? Oh, I think I turned on chamomile. That's why this is running slow. Turn that off. You hear the fans ramp up now and the temperature over go through the roof. Yeah, there we go. That's better. Yay! We've got some life in it. I always run chamomile on this, which is a program for basically keeping your laptop nice and cool, making the battery last forever. And it has a side effect of obviously reducing the fastest speeds the processor can go at. So yeah, I was wondering why things were taking so long. Like normally this thing's quite nippy. Anyway, we'll see. I might have to get a beer. How's my battery looking at the moment? Battery status fully charged. That was pretty good. Right, unpacking data. Right, I'm going to grab a beer. Poppy, do you want a beer? Do you want one, Calf? A shandy?
Oh, shandy.
Yeah. Do you want a glass or are you going to slum it?
I'll slum it.
Well done.
It's like when I was on school trips, I'd have a shandy.
Have a shandy. Not sponsored, but this stuff, Foster's Shandy, is basically lager with lemonade. And in this sort of weather, and
What else would shandy be?
well, sometimes you get beer, don't you, rather than lager.
Ah.
So this is a lager shandy. So it's technically not a shandy. A shandy normally would be beer and lemonade. Anyway, it's really, really nice, and it goes down a treat. So cheers, everybody. Does remind me of Shandy Bass, but it's got a slightly bit more lemon in it.
Oz's drink, but it says Melbourne on the front.
It's from Melbourne, so Australians must drink it. Or do they have Castlemaine 4X?
I was going to say, they wouldn't give a 4X for that.
Oh, L-Connect requires a full reboot of the PC to complete the installation process. Shut down my PC now. Yes, whatever. Right, where's my USB port? Tell me I've got a USB port. I have. Excellent. So let's we'll see what happens. If you're of the religious persuasion, maybe say a little prayer for us. It's really refreshing, nice. And relatively inexpensive. I think it was like £9 for 10 cans, or 12 cans. Oh. I forgot, when you install L-Connect, for some reason it tells you to shut down your PC. So it says, do you want to shut down now? You expect it to restart, but it doesn't, it just shuts down. So you have to physically press the button to turn your PC back on. Right, hopefully, if the software fires up, which I'm sure it will, although have I set it to auto start? No, Windows is still booting. audio. One, two, what's going on? 1, 2. 1, 2, 1, 2. Oh. I don't know. I don't think so. I charged it up. Oh. I wonder if I'm that. I've broken many today. It would appear. The heat. Yeah. 1, 2, 1, 2. I wonder if the L-Connect software did something bizarre with the sound. Possibly. Is it working now? Mark Gaines has been here for 1 month. Thank you, Mark. Still spotty, working. Use Lord Sledgehammer. Okay now? Yes? Okay. How it goes. I wonder if I've damaged this. No. Still cuts. Right. I'll PC, because it looks like this is still performing as normal. So I think whatever I did to the PC, plugging it in on the USB, I think it has actually done something bad. So I'm going to restart the PC. So I don't know how I'm going to keep the stream running actually. I'll try and the overhead one a minute to rule out. So 1, 2, 1, 2, can you hear me? 1, 2, 1, 2, can you hear me now? Is that working? The screen works now, yeah, which is a okay.
Hey, Dave.
Cut out. So is it still cutting out? Yep, still working. Yep, yes. Okay. Let me know if it cuts out again. It's gonna be yeah, the audio's not gonna be great, but we'll see what we can do. Sound is bad though. Okay. Working, not cutting out now. I wonder if it is this microphone. Tell you what, I'm going to unplug that because this has got a built-in microphone at the top. So I may have damaged the wire. I did notice I actually had that bent round at like a pretty bad angle. So maybe I've knacked up the lav. So I'll go back to the other mic. This should be still working. Okay, so now we're on the lav mic. If I put it there, ugh. It's a bit heavy for there, but is that working? Can you hear me? Does it fine? Does it work? I'm the lav mic. I did notice that was bent round at a particularly bad angle, so I think I've actually damaged that bit. Yeah, perfect. Working. Now you can find. Let it go. Oh, cut. Right, let's ditch that one. Where is my other? I'll turn this one off. And 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Is that working? Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. I can see you.
Is that working? Can you hear me? Are we good? Is it happy?
Brilliant, great, good, good. That's better. I don't know if
yes. That works. Give it a moment. Okay. We'll see what happens. So far, so good. Yep, okay now. Alright.
Have you ever had a Carlton Crown beer?
I don't think I have, no. Move your lips for a sound check. So far, so good. Right, that seems to be working. I think we'll say that is we'll chalk that up as a success. Today is break stuff day. Yeah, I wonder if I have damaged that. Right, I need to get something to mark that up to make sure that I've... what if I've damaged something on there? Because it doesn't seem to matter whether it was the lav plugged in or not. I think you're golden now. Well, I wonder if this thing is basically knackered. Shame actually, because I've had these Boya mics for a long time. But I will get my special pen. Actually, I'll tell you what, I'll get Kath's special pen. And this is the Boya mic. So I'm going to write on here F for foobar. Screen is gone now. Oh, for flip's sake. Have I actually damaged this? Let's apply. Right, we've got some geometric shapes. Actually, let's put that one on. I like that one. I want that one. Now, for some reason... of course. It's wanting me to put the... yeah, I can't put the stats on because this laptop is basically bare bones and it doesn't display the stats in a way that the actual software can pick it up, I don't think. Which is why we're just getting a blank screen with no stats as such. I don't think there's anything else I can do. Sensor setting. So we'll try CPU core, CPU clock. We'll try 0 total CPU usage. CPU fan none. CPU voltages, we'll just do core 0 vid. Actually, core voltage would be fine.
Is that the mic you linked in Discord today saying it's the best 17 quid you ever spent, Mike?
No, no, it wasn't, no. Oh dear, wouldn't that be funny if it was?
Is that the one you use every day?
Yeah, most of the time, yeah. No, this is the one I use for streams.
So the one you linked is the one you use on normal videos?
Yeah. Why is this not working well? Not really. Right, some of these things it just doesn't want to apply. Now, it does say there is a part of the software which requires, I think it's Visual C++, which I haven't installed. So maybe it's that, but anyway, I'm going to put a big old F on the back of here for failed. And then I can...
I think I will have a mic tonight.
Do you want one? There you go. Kath, you can have the broken one. You'll sound great. Is this... Let me see if I got Visual C++ on here. I do apologise, viewers. Sometimes things go really well. Sometimes not so much. Visual... Actually, let's type in C++. What are you laughing at now? What have I done? Oh, C++ is installed, so it's not that. So yeah, it's basically the laptop is not giving off any kind of real stats for it to actually show on the screen. So yeah, I'm glad I didn't use this for the review, because that would have been very pointless. So anyway, you can see the screen changing. There's stuff on there. You get the general idea. I think I've actually quite royally failed with this particular attempt, so I'm going to give up on that. But you can actually set up your own individual configuration on the screen. So if you want it to display, I don't know, cats, whatever, there is actually a part in the L-Connect 3 software. So you can do a screen capture. You can either do a still, or you can do up to 3-minute video. And you can edit it and desaturate it and all sorts. Crop it, whatever. You can do all that stuff actually in the software when it works. Which is currently not right now. Anyway, moving on from where we were. Let's try and rescue this video. We won't. Can it display Nookie? Yeah. It'll be well. You won't see many large todgers on there because it's only a 6-inch screen. But you never know. Anyway, let's move on. So we've seen the front panel. Let's take a look at the side panel. So the side panel is tempered glass, as you'd expect, and it's very heavy and robust. So it's 4mm thick, I think. 4mm thick. Very nice piece of glass, very strong, very heavy. Metal surrounds around all 4 sides and also blacked out as well.
Question from Skystalker.
And then you can see inside. And it's actually a really nice layout. What's Skystalker's question? Hey, this is real life, stuff happens, we just deal with it. Oh, Todger. Oh, Todger is a wang. A love stick.
Tallywhacker.
Tallywhacker. Johnson. Many words for a Todger.
Oh, Candy, close your ears.
Sorry. All right. Yeah, hopefully that explains it. So, what we've got here is basically a dual chamber setup. So you've got obviously your main PC setup here. And in the bottom, you've got the power supply basement and also where you've got these 2 fans. So the 2 fans are blowing in. So your graphics card is going to be situated somewhere along here. And it's going to be pulling in fresh air from the sides, the back, and also the other side as well. And pushing the cool air in towards the path of your graphics card, which is obviously awesome. Due to the fact it's passing into the graphics card, if your graphics card fans are spinning, which potentially they might be, the graphics card generally is going to eject heat either out the sides or up vertically through a pass-through cutout on the actual backplate. So your convection is the natural state of convection, so it's heat rises. So cool air, warmer air, and it's being drawn up towards the top. So if you do have fans in the top, it's going to pull out that heat even faster. Alternatively, because you've got so much air pressure coming in from these front 2 fans, you're going to get the cool air rising up from your GPU. The cool air from here is going to push on through and then push everything out the back. The back is basically completely open. So it's, I'm surprised they've actually made it as strong as they have, because it's basically all mesh. So the effect is that cool air is coming in from the bottom and front, and it's all being pushed out the back and or the top if you've got that configured. So to remove the basement section, now this bit is actually really handy for me because I'm swapping out graphics cards and messing around with things. Sometimes I've got to plug in a 12 volt high power, sometimes it's got to be a couple of PCI 8 pins, maybe 3 of them, who knows. This has got it so that you can have all your cables stashed underneath here, but still get quite nice access. So undo the 2 thumb screws, push that back and lift off, and again you've got more of that breathable mesh. And that opens up your power supply basement. So your power supply is now going to live here. So your power supply is going to be exhausting heat this way, which, yes, some of it may get drawn back into the system. Yeah, that is a distinct possibility. Depends on your power supply. Most power supply fans are very weak. So when you look at the amount of air that you've got going in the front, with all that positive pressure pushing down into your PSU basement and out through there, yes, some of it is going to escape to go around there, but I don't think it's going to be anything to really write home about. Most power supplies are designed to not run much more than around about 40 to 50 C anyway. So the kind of the air coming out of the power supply isn't going to be dramatically over ambient, and it's certainly going to be nowhere near the amount of the heat coming out of a GPU. It's kind of 50, 60, 70, 80 degrees Celsius, some even higher for older ones. And of course the same with your CPU. Your CPU can potentially be running at kind of like 70 to 90 C. Obviously the air coming out of the cooler isn't going to be that hot, but you get the idea. It's going to be noticeably warmer air coming out from either of those 2 components than is going to come out of your power supply, due to the fact that most modern power supplies now are pretty efficient. So they turn most of the electricity actually into usable electricity or power for the system itself. Yes, Kath?
David Underhill, does it have support for the Lian Li?
Yes,
Edge PSU? There
there is support for the Lian Li Edge power supply.
I don't want an exhaust blowing on me. Sorry, that came out wrong.
Less said about that the better. So, some of the things that are going on here which are a little bit different. So the motherboard section is actually recessed. So when you've got your motherboard installed, it drops in about 10mm. So that gives you a little bit more room for CPU coolers, air coolers, and also means that you can have your cabling going in through this side channel into your motherboard on the side. So cable management is going to be pretty easy. And also, if you want to use a Lian Li strimmer, which some of you might want to, you can put it through this plastic or rubber side piece. So your Lian Li strimmer is going to come over there and have a nice arc going into your motherboard if you want to use that. You could pass other things through there. I was trying to think what else you'd use that for other than like a Lian Li strimmer. But I think that's about the only thing I would realistically say it's useful for. Basically a secondary method of connecting your main ATX 24 pin. Movement at the top, so you've got loads of room there between the top of here and also the top of your motherboard. And in fact, I will measure that very quickly. I estimated about 50 mil. And it's going to be, where is it, 50... Actually, I think I said 50 to 55, and it's actually 56, roughly. So I was pretty much bang on. So even if you've got like a 25 or 28 mil radiator, 25 mil fans, that's what, 52, 53 mil roughly. So even with that, you're still going to be able to get access to your motherboard, the EPS connector, your CPU connectors for your fans, all that kind of stuff. I absolutely hate it when I get into a case, I install everything, I put the radiator in, and then it's like, oh, I need to move that cable, and you kind of like wedging your fingers up between the back of the radiator and also the motherboard, trying to like work out what's plugged in. I fucking hate that. It really annoys me. You can tell it pisses me off. So with this, you've got a nice amount of space there, so you're not going to have your EPS cables covered up. I like that a lot. It works for me. Pre-installed pins for a motherboard. Also, the middle one is a centralized one, I think. Is it? Feels like it is. So yeah, those are all pre-installed.
Can you put a power supply in it to see how much room you have for the cables?
Yeah, I could do that. It's actually not a bad idea. Actually, I'll do that when we go back around the rear side. That's probably the best way of doing that. While we're looking at the side, there's also a GPU support bracket. So it's on a thumb screw. You see that moves up and down. So depending where your GPU is and how big your GPU is, it supports GPUs up to 375 mil. So that's pretty darn big GPUs. And yeah, you've got some movement there. So if you've got a real fat boy, it's going to be fine. You can adjust that. If you've got a graphics card which is like a twin slot but it's really long for some reason, they actually do include in the box, for some bizarre reason, an additional foam pad with a sticky on the bottom. So you can stick that onto there just to give you a little bit of extra height should it not rise up high enough. So that is pretty handy. Seems like they have thought about a lot of stuff with this case, which is nice. I like that. What else have we got? So yeah, that is a PSU with all the modular cables plugged in. That would be possible, but pointless, I think. Because why would you plug in all of your modular cables?
I'll do a modular one.
Yeah, you wouldn't. you wouldn't have enough hard drives or things in here to power all of your like 8 to 12 SATA plugs. There's not enough room for those drives, so there isn't really much point in doing that. You have got a reasonable amount of area at the bottom there to actually put additional cables in, and also if you cable manage them as well, it'll be absolutely fine. It is a compact chassis, so it's not designed to have loads and loads of storage space. It's designed to be compact, which sometimes that is going to be kind of like the trade-off, that you don't have a lot of cable management room. But actually I didn't show you the back, did I? So the back is almost completely mesh, top to bottom, other than probably a little bit of thicker metal here and at the very top. But other than that, it's all mesh. You've got your power supply input there. So your IEC, or kettle lead as we call them here in the UK, that is going to go into there. Actually, any of our American viewers, do you have kettle leads in the USA? Like the ones, like these PC ones, like that. We call that a kettle lead here in the UK because pretty much all kettles that were ever made in the UK use that type of plug. But is that a thing in America? Do your kettles have that sort of lead as well, the IEC?
The first plug I remember on a kettle was a round one like that.
Might have been.
On a Swan kettle, and that was most of my life. And I think it got replaced in about Christmas 1999.
Rick H says, yup. Everyone else in the rest of the row call IEC leads. Nope, kettles, cords, hardwired in, says Greg. Fred says, Mike, do you know you look like Rob Cross? He's a dart player. Yes. I look like many bold people. Yanks don't use electric kettles. What? Americans don't use kettles? Is that a thing? Surely. They microwave their water. What? Surely not. That's not a thing, is it? Do you microwave your water and then make your tea or coffee? Americans are weird. There. I said it. It's out in the open. I think most of you know it anyway.
No, they boil them on the stove. That's nice.
Susan Robbins says, yes, we do. Oh, you do have the leads or you do use the microwave?
Or you boil it on the stove.
It's a strange,
Or do they have kettles?
strange country. It's a very strange country. Right, let's move on before I get myself into trouble. Okay, so the back. So cable management wise.
In a coffee pot.
Okay. So cable management wise, you've got this nice channel here actually for putting your cables, the majority of them. So this is like a triple layer or dual layer Velcro. So you've got the Velcro strap there, which you can put cables behind it. You can then put your strap back in. You can then put another cable in, and then you can put the Velcro back over again. And also that is double-sided also. So there's lots of cable management options on this channel here. They do say if you're going to be using a power supply, which is a traditional power supply, then you want the EPS cable to be at least 600 millimeters in length. Now, most of them tend to be. Some newer ones are like 650, but generally they tend to be 600 mil anyway. So if you are thinking about getting this case, do check with your power supply first of all, just to be on the safe side to make sure that your power supply is going to be long enough, at least the EPS cable. Of course, you can buy power cable extensions. They're extremely inexpensive. A single EPS extension is like £2 or £3, so it's not the end of the world, but it could be like if you're trying to build it on a specific day and you haven't got one, it's like, could catch you out. So yeah, you might want to pay attention to that. You can stretch them kind of across here. They are designed to go up and along this channel, but they will go behind here as long as it's not a particularly thick one, because this section, because the motherboard is recessed, there isn't a massive amount of room here. So you've got about 10 mil. So if you're using flat cables, no problem, it's going to be fine. But if you're using braided cables, not going to be so great. I know what I mean. I do remember those actually. Again, pass-throughs there. You've got some pass-throughs for passing cables through, EPS, fan cables, radiators, etc., etc. Plenty of pass-throughs. At the bottom, you've got all your cables kind of neatly nestled down here. So you've got your USB for the front panel, the LCD screen, which we won't talk about too much. USB Type-C, front panel connection. You've got your front panel header on a block. You've also got two USB 3.0s on the Type A. There's a PWM for the front two fans. And also you've got an extremely long HD audio cable, which kind of, even if you do get very anal about your wiring, you're still going to have an absolute ton of room for it. So that's awesome. Moving further back, you've got another single PWM cable for the two fans. So the 120mm fans, which are pointing towards your graphics card, those spin at, I think I said, was it 500 to 1950 RPM. PWM controlled. Again, both of them are wired together. So you could, if you wanted to, you could swap those out pretty easily. They're just 120s, normal thickness. So if you want to swap out those on the bottom, very, very easy to do indeed. Not quite as easy for the front ones, unfortunately, which is a little bit of a shame. For those of you that are still using solid rust discs, there are two removable caddy trays at the bottom here. So you can put in here either 2.5 or 3.5 inch drives, put them on there, screw them in, boom, put them back in. Alternatively, if you are using a power supply which is either not modular or you insist on using all of the modular cables, you can take these out to give you another bit of room at the bottom there for storing cables without interfering with your fans. I think that is pretty much it. I'll tighten those up a moment and then I will put a power supply in and we'll have a look.
Can you put a motherboard in as well? And some memory?
A build basically.
CPU.
Yeah. I was planning to actually do a full build today, in this, but I'm kind of glad I didn't now.
That's the hard drive.
Because I potentially might have to send it back if that screen is playing up. Because that would be a bit of a kerfuffle. Right, power supply time. Right, let's move these cables out of the way. And fortunately we have these cable management channels, so I can just pop that back up through there. Actually, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to leave them there. Because if I try and do something there, it's probably, I'll break something else. It's one of those days today, it really is. Power supply, what have I got? Right, first one that comes to mind is the Thermal Take 1. And this is a Tough Power GF3 850 watts. This is actually a slightly more chunky power supply, so I may have just screwed myself in the butt, as they say. Thank you for the super chat, Mark Gaines, with your £10 super chat. It says, Mike, what would cause an image backup to fail? It depends how it's failed or what the failure is. Quite often, if you're running a backup through a service which uses the Windows Shadow Volume copy, which is kind of like System Restore, how that works. So if your backup solution is using Windows Shadow Volume, if you've got your System Restore space set at too low a percentage, it won't be able to physically make the restore point or the restore image. So that is something to look at. I had that problem with Synology NAS, where that actually uses the Windows Shadow Volume copy feature to create its backups. And I was getting an error message that it was failing because it said it didn't have enough space. And I was like, well, it's a NAS, it's got hundreds of space. But it meant it didn't have enough space to create the image actually on the physical machine. So maybe look at that. Hopefully that answers your question, Mark. Right, let's get a couple of screws and we'll put the power supply in and have a look, see what the room's like. Just reading the chat there, have I missed anything else? Who's going to divorce who? Calf?
That's like the Royals.
Oh, Royals, oh, screw them. I don't care about them.
Do you care about them, Candy?
Right, actually, let's put that USB under there. So some of the reason they've actually put the power supply is actually raised up off the deck. I'm not sure if you can see it very well on this image, but there's actually like a foam pad there, which lifts the power supply up about that much off the bottom. So that's so you can pass your wires underneath it if it's sticking out too far, which is quite useful. Right, power supply inserted. Oh no, it's not quite inserted. There it is. Let's put a couple of screws in there to hold it in place. So this power supply is actually probably going to be slightly challenging. Oh, actually it's fallen down a little bit. Sorry, I'm trying to get on an angle where I've got a bit of daylight. It fell off the rubber. I didn't have it right. I didn't have it in the right hole, as the vicar said. (25°C here currently in the Mike's Unboxing studio, and humidity is a very comfortable 45%. Which is easy for me to say. It's been a long day. Right, so I'll quickly show you this. So on this side, now the power supply is in. So you've got your plug, and you kind of just wang that around there. You can tie it up a bit more if you wanted to. You don't,
Who's typing on the chat?
Don't think there's any real better way of doing that. So yeah, that's pretty basic, straightforward stuff. does challenge the old it does challenge the muscle memory a little when you're building on a PC and it's slightly different. It shouldn't do really, but it kind of does.
He just kind of sat himself down in front of you, mate.
Maisie. Maisie went missing for a good few hours yesterday. It was a very concerning time for us here.
She's old.
She's old as you like.
You're young, aren't you, Candy?
You're not? Okay.
You're going to say hello? Candy? Gonna say hello and then I'll feed you. She's so lazy, she likes to be for hand.
Yeah. Our cats do get hand fed. Calf's a mug.
Chap, you do it as well when I'm not around.
I know.
There's a nice face one.
Right, so that goes in there okay. And you've got plenty of room in there for cable management. So there's going to be about kind of there. You get the general idea. What else we got? I was wondering about the 12 volt high power. This could be the area which absolutely scuppers this, because that is going to be on a particularly offensive bend. Come on. There's a super chat from our good pal O'Reilly. How you doing, O'Reilly? Says evening here from from free cold hotel room. Sleeping in mub hoodie tonight. Oh, bless you. Thank you for the super chat. Much appreciated. Why are you sleeping in a hotel? Oh, you're seeing your uncle. I almost forgotten. Where's your mouse gone? There it is.
Thanks, Riley. I will thank you.
Thank you.
In a minute.
I think Kath is the cat whisperer. Yes, not far off it. Right, so yeah, that actually bends up. That's fine. And that is with a braided cable as well. So yeah, that'll be fine. Actually, realistically, it's probably going to end up going downward, and I would probably take this out from the front and then up through. There's a hole, a specially designed little hole at the front, so you can take your power supply cable straight in. If Kerry Helsman's still watching, hopefully you're picking up some tips of what not to do when you're building in your Lian Li 207. That's got right in the way. So yeah, there's a hole at the front of this section, so you can just run your 12 volt high power straight out there into your GPU. So that's nice placement for that. I do appreciate that. That's actually excellent. Very good placement for it indeed. And again, for our cables come out here, so you can kind of have that and straight into your motherboard, which is going to be kind of there-ish, I guess. Or of course, if you want to, you can take it through there. If you're using like a strimmer, you want to see the extra RGB on it, you can do it that way. EPS cable, that's going to be an interesting one to see if this is actually long enough. I'm pretty sure the Thermaltake ones are 600 minimum. So I'm not going to measure it. I'm just going to plug it in and wing it and see how much room we actually have. As this might be one of those areas where people are a little bit concerned, understandably. I'm just going to wrap that in there a minute just to keep it out of the way. And so CPU power or PCIe, so that is those there. That's actually in a very good position. Wrong end. So I'll do the one which is kind of furthest away at the moment. And I'll route it actually through the cable channel just to see. I think it's going to be absolutely fine. But it's actually nice to try out these things whilst not under any pressure at all, doing a live stream, just in case anything does go wrong. Oh, and for those of you that haven't seen it already this week, have you checked out, I think most of you have actually, have you checked out the 5 top services to disable for your new Windows build? I know some of you have already seen it and left a comment on it, so I do appreciate that. But for those of you that haven't, it's actually been a very popular video. It was only released Thursday, I think it was, and we've already got almost 20,000 views on it, which for us is actually incredible. Very rarely we get that sort of traction in a video, so YouTube seems to be pushing it. So I'm not going to complain about that, it's all good. But if you haven't seen it, it might be worth checking out, because clearly it resonates with a lot of people, and a lot of people have watched it.
And also, deal on Technically Stable.
Ah, yes, I didn't say as well. Our friends over at Technically Stable, if you go over and use discount code Mike's Unboxing, you can get 3 mouse pads for the price of 2. So if you've been on the fence previously about maybe investing in a new mouse pad, like getting one free if you buy 2, it's a no-brainer. So I'll put the link for the desk pad in the chat so you can check it out for yourselves. And thank you, Glenn, for the super chat. Kath will be in a second and she will remunerate you with some LED lighting. Thank you, Glenn. Much appreciated. Buffering. Oh, we're buffering. Oh, no.
Okay, then.
Susan Robbins says that was a good video, Mike. Thank you. Nick Barnes says brilliant, 5 steps and done to both PCs. Thanks, Mike. Rick H says, yeah, go back to the Windows 7. Dutch Jan says, question, BTF compatible? No. Because the motherboard tray is recessed, because this is a compact chassis, it's quite narrow, you don't have BTF support because you'd need to have the tray to go back in probably about another 15mm, 20mm possibly, which would then significantly reduce the amount of room for having a decent sized air cooler in there, which is something which apparently they didn't want to do. And also it would mean you couldn't have a 120mm fan in the back either. So do bear in mind, like, although this looks like an ATX case, it's actually really small. It probably doesn't do it justice on camera, but it is really small in terms of the dimensions. So that is why, what have they done here? A lot of this is kind of like actually quite fascinating, because you can still fit in like really high-end hardware, but it's in a much more compact chassis format. So yeah, 450mm. I think if you think of the Series 500, which is kind of like a reasonable size case, I think that's like getting on for 600mm, whereas this is like 450. So it's about an extra 6 inches taller, which is like incredible. Again, why they put the smaller feet on there as well. So it is a very compact chassis. Yes, there are a couple of compromises, but overall, I don't think it's too bad. And in terms of the EPS cable, like that's it in through there. There's at least that much room on there. So yeah, that's going to fit into a motherboard easily, because your EPS is going to be like at the top here or here. So that is going to be absolutely fine. I'm pretty sure this is a 600mm. I will check it to be on the safe side, because I don't want to mislead you. Candy, what are you doing? Candy? I think she's found a spider behind the fireplace.
Back to what?
She's found a spider behind the fireplace. Oh, can I have a tape measure, please? Actually, this desk is 600mm. So maybe this is a 650. So I might need to get a smaller EPS cable. I think actually, if it's a... yeah, that is going to be definitely tighter with a 600. Actually, this one looks closer to 700mm. Yeah, that is 700mm. Have I got a power supply which is modular with a small EPS cable? That is the question. Let's see what else I got. I haven't got a great deal of... Oh, actually. RM650, what's that got? Oh no, it's got cable extensions on it. Tough Power GF50, does it say the lengths on there? No, it doesn't. I don't want to cross the streams and get cables mixed up, but let's see if I can find it quickly. I'm pretty sure it's going to be the same. CPU. Actually, it does feel shorter. That might just be... Right, that one's... Yeah, this is 650. So I'll try this one. Not that it really makes a huge amount of difference, I don't think, but... Yeah, when they said on there that they recommend a 600mm minimum, I think they might even be underselling it a little bit. I think it might actually need to be a little bit longer than that, possibly. Let's see. This... I don't know if this is going to physically... Well, it'll physically fit in here, but you shouldn't ever do this. So, actually, no, that's fine. So you just take it up through there, along there. It's going to be a little bit challenging, possibly. You could, if you want to, just take it straight across if you've got flat cables. A lot of power supplies these days do come with flat cables, so even if you had to run it through that way, I think you'd be fine. But they kind of want you to use the cable channel to prevent any damage going on in the back, which I understand. That's fine. Right, let's put that back in there so I don't mix up those. Even though they're both from Thermaltake power supplies, I never ever like mixing cables up because it just terrifies me that something is going to go boom. As much as that will please Kath, it is not good. Kath will be out of a job, yeah.
That's the AI taking over.
I'll have to get an AI boomer to do the booms. Anyway, so yeah, I would say for this, if you're looking at power supplies and thinking, well, what would I get if I was going to be building this? Or if you've got a power supply already and you're thinking about getting this case, I think definitely a modular power supply would be advantageous, albeit not entirely necessary. But I think certainly having flat cables is going to be a must. So if you're running some slightly older Corsair power supplies, those might be challenging. In terms of... Sorry?
Ashley's off.
Cheers, Ashley. Thanks for stopping by. And thanks for Dan Marr for being a supporter. Much appreciated. Did I get a LED for being a supporter? Kath's just letting her keyboard dangle off. Literally, her keyboard is dangling off the desk.
Because the cats are sitting where the keyboard's meant to be.
It's fine.
Mine's got
Have I mixed that up?
extra lights for me to turn off now.
Bogans don't do management. Rick H said to Dan Moore, welcome to the Mum community. Thank you very much, Dan Moore. Always appreciated. You guys are lovely. You really are. In fact, in my, I would say, in actual fact, in reality, when I have my darker days, which I do have, because I'm a human being, but even on my darker days, and I think to myself, actually, I don't want to get up today. I really just don't want to get out of bed. I just can't face the world. I do think of the kindness which comes from you lot out there, both in the comments section, watching the videos, and your financial generosity as well. Let's not kid ourselves. And I do think to myself, no, I'm going to get up. I'm going to make a video. I'm going to do some work because there's people out there which appreciate it and actually value it. So I'm going to get up. I'm going to do stuff. And I'm not going to be miserable. It doesn't always work. But it certainly helps. So thank you very much. Right, let's take this power supply back out now. I think you've seen enough there. Again, this power supply is actually one of the more chunky ones on the market because it is part of the GF3 range from Thermaltake, the GF3 850, which I think is 150mm, whereas quite a lot of power supplies these days tend to be a little bit smaller than that, like 140. I'll find out now when I measure it. It might even be 160. I do quite often forget the specs of these things as I'm kind of going through the motions. House says, I like the community. I don't need the instructions. What's that for? What's that for? I don't need the instructions. I don't know where that come from, but...
Nice to chat with fellow nerds.
Oh yeah, nerds. We're nerds. some being more nerdy than others. I try not to nerd out too much, mainly because I don't have the ability to, because I'm not that nerdy. But there are some elements of computing which I am reasonably well versed in, which I feel I do have a valid opinion. Whether or not you want to listen to that opinion is entirely up to you. I think, as with anything, nobody knows everything. There's always something new you can learn, or something interesting you can see or do or buy. So yeah, there's always something to keep going. I don't like the name of, or to be called an expert, because I don't think anybody truly is an expert in their field. Realistically, there might be the old one or two, but if someone said to me, like, what are you an expert at? I'd be like, well, probably sleeping, I'm pretty good at that. Eating, I'm doing all right with that. I've been doing that since a very early age. Drinking also. I'm pretty good at most of those things. Charles Ballard says, nerds, geeks, dweebs, bloods, jocks, sportos, we all think Mike's a righteous dude. Thank you. That's very kind of you. Let's have a look how deep this power supply is. So this power supply is actually, yeah, a deeper one. So this is a 160mm. Because it's a chunky boy. I think it's got a 140mm fan as well. So yeah, 160mm for the power supply. So yeah, a lot of new ones seem to be like 150s, 140s. But a 160 is fine. I wouldn't go any bigger than a 160mm power supply. I think if you do, you're kind of asking for trouble. So don't do that. Oh god, there's another thermal tape power supply there. What's that one? I don't know if that gives us any variance. Oh, the Tough Power GT850. I don't think the video's out for this yet. This is new from their new GT range. So this is a kind of like revised version. Again, it's a fully modular, but it's a compact version. So they've refined it a little bit. And also it's got a better fan and also better cooling than the GF3 range and the GF3A. And it's yeah, a much more compact chassis. So you can see it's a good kind of 10mm smaller in every direction, but still got a nice big fan on there for cooling. So just miniaturized it a little bit, but nice power supplies. I think the video for that should be, if it hasn't gone out already, it should be going out shortly. I think maybe members and patrons might have had it already. But yeah, nice power supplies.
Oh, they're exchanging ham info.
They're hamming it up. Check them out with their ham radio stuff. You are proper nerds.
Oh, I'd love to put that like CB.
Yeah. So, well, Citizen Band Radio is kind of like the easy version of ham radio. I think, personally. If I'm completely wrong, feel free to tell me. Hey?
You couldn't even get the CB to work.
No. The trouble is, where we...
Car battery in the house.
Yeah.
In my bedroom for it to work.
We are very unlucky. Where we live in Bristol, it's relatively flat. So for some things that's good, but for some things it's not so good.
That jungle is just...
And it is literally a concrete jungle, so you need like a proper decent aerial. But something about the flatness, and because we've got valleys either side of us as well, further out, I don't think it's particularly good for radio signals or for TV signals. We always struggled here to get TV signals, didn't we?
Not here, Burley Grove.
Burley Grove was terrible, wasn't it? Because that was in a dip. Yeah. Oof.
You couldn't even
Awful.
get a car radio to work on that.
Yeah, car radios. We'd pull into our old house, and you'd get to the point where you come into the top of the road, or the bottom of the road, I suppose it would be. You come down this hill, and then as you turn in at the top, your radio would be like. It's like, yep, nearly home.
And the aerials on people's roofs were like,
oh, massive!
Another
Yeah, massive aerials,
high.
like 5, 10, 15 meter antenna poles with aerials on the top.
But because we lived above a shop,
Yeah.
but it was like a house above the shop. Ours was kind of almost normal, I think, on us.
Yeah.
Above it.
We were in like a 3-story house, but the bottom story was a shop, and we had 2 stories above it, plus an attic space as well. So kind of 4 stories effectively, because we had a entry level, the first level, second level, then the roof space. So yeah, technically 4 levels.
But
And then you'd have a massive aerial at the top of that as well.
But if you looked out of our window, you would just see people's because you're in bedroom windows are in line with people's rooftops.
Yeah. It's a weird place. Weird place. Good times though. Mostly. Right, let's get this put back together. So, we've got any other questions regarding the lancool? Sorry, the LAN, whatever it is. What the feck is going on here? You can tell it's long. It's been a long day today. I didn't get a video done today, which is unfortunate. But I did get a lot of admin done. So I had 3 or 4 videos I had to finish off and do thumbnails and blurb and all that kind of stuff. And that always is difficult. Oh, and by the way, if anybody's watching, or you're considering sending me an email saying, Mike, do you want to have someone to edit your videos or do your thumbnails, etc.? Yes, but if you're going to do it for free and you don't have access to my channel. The amount of emails I get every single day from various different people saying, hi Mike, love your videos, blah, blah, blah. Would you like us to increase your SEO, your searchability, or do your thumbnails? It's like, yeah, that'd be great. But are you going to do it for absolutely no money? If you are, no problem. We'll sign up immediately. But if you want paying for it, then unfortunately, you're going to have to, well, find someone else. Because we ain't got the money to do that. As nice as it would be, ain't going to happen. Ugh, let's move that case. Oh, you got to bed, Candy?
That's your bedtime.
Candy's gone to bed. Oh, God, nearly fell off the fucking stool then. Right, what else have what else have I got? Right, I've got a keyboard, which I'm kind of reviewing. Oh, actually, that has got labels on, so I better not show that. So this has been sent to us by Acco. Or was it Mons Geek? I think Mons Geek and Acco are the same people.
Right, hold on.
Hey, Charlie Purdy, you weird American, you. Thank you for your kind $10 donation. Much appreciated. Hey, when I say that Americans are weird, I mean that as like you're a kindred spirit. Because English people, we're weird. We're really, like, fucked up. Really. Properly. For various reasons. But Americans are pretty good because you just say it as it is. But you do some weird things with kettles. And you've got a weird obsession with lawns and grass. What's that about?
Shut up, I mow mine every day, or did.
Who mows your lawn every day? Almost, or did?
I did.
Yeah, me.
You do it now, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm very appreciative.
So, Americans, explain to me, what is the obsession with keeping your grass looking good? Is that still a thing, or is that just something which we've kind of taken from the movies? Is that really still a thing? I never quite know. Don't forget the Dutch. Oh, the Dutch are fine. Dubious football team at times, but pretty good. Is there going to be an answer to that? Sky says it is a thing. Yeah, why is it? We're Americans and lawns. Charles says, don't ask me about lawns, I hate the damn things. David says, Mike, I have quarter an acre lawn of nice grass. Plastic grass seems to be the thing now. Yeah, here in the UK, plastic grass seems to be the thing. I hate it with a passion. Plastic grass. Like, if you've ever played football at any level on plastic grass, you'll understand just the pain that comes from plastic grass.
I'm like,
it's horrible.
How birds get worms out from that?
Who lets his grass die in the summer? Nice.
Didn't even do the...
Thank you, Greg M, for becoming a supporter.
Yeah,
sorry, I meant to say that. I was distracted by my own brain. And actually, thank you, Charlie Purdy, as well. You weird American, you. Oh, dear. Yeah, I get having a nice, tidy garden. That makes absolute sense. But is it like with Americans that you're like really super anal, that your grass has got to be perfect and no kind of weeds or moss or anything on it? It's got to be like absolutely pristine. I don't know.
I don't do weed killer, I know.
It makes your house look good if your lawn looks like hell. So does your house. I get that, but is there not like some, like a level of like, okay, it's neat and tidy. Yeah, there's the there's a couple of daisies in it, a couple of dandelions, but overall it's not unruly. It's kept. It's a reasonably short length. But I guess because the weather as well, like having sprinklers on like early in the morning or late at night just to keep your grass growing. I don't think we'd be allowed to do that here because of the hose pipe bans.
But who's allowing or not allowing? You're paying for that water.
Yeah, true.
If they've taken all their profits, haven't they? They could have invested in infrastructure to store water in.
Arnold G says the 80s was when they were super anal about the grass. The 90s made people not give a fook. Fair enough. Lucky Man Fishing says wrong shade of green grass. Yep. We want some happy grass. That's what we want. Anyway, back to what I was supposed to be talking about, or not really talking about. So this has come from Monsgeek, their European store. So Monsgeek or basically ACO, which I think is the same company, they've got two stores. So if you want to buy from Europe, you can buy from their European store. It covers the UK, most of the Nordics, that kind of stuff, Germany, etc., etc. So obviously when it comes to keyboards, we all have our sort of layouts. Now, a lot of people just go with a standard US layout and be happy with it. But for some of us, if you've been using a keyboard for a long, long time, you kind of get muscle memory and you get used to where things are and you just want your layouts to be right.
You have to, because the key things are
yeah. So Monsgeek, I've got the Fun 60. Now this is available in multiple different styles and shapes, but the Fun 60 is a pretty insane package. They do this keyboard, it's a 60% keyboard, Hall effect switches, and yeah, it's just basically a really awesome keyboard. And it starts off from some bizarre price, like 35, 40 quid. Like really, really cheap for what is an excellent keyboard. But there's loads of options as well. So you can spend loads more money if you want like the wireless version or the Bluetooth version. There's hundreds to choose from. Just do a search for Monsgeek Fun 60 HE and you should find this available from either Monsgeek themselves or ACO, either the US.com or the EU site. I think it's .eu. Anyway, I would strongly suggest you check it out if you like high quality keyboards. So this one, they sent to me. Now there was a little bit of a snafu at the factory with these because they're coming out to the UK market. So they got in touch with us and said, Mike, we want you to take a look at one of our keyboards. We know you like using UK layout, so we'd love to send you one of our new ACO Fun 60 HEs with the Hall effect switches, blah, 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 blah. And the first thing was like, is it UK layout? And they're like, yep, UK layout, no problem at all. It's all in ISO. So yeah, it's going to be absolutely fine. It's like, brilliant. Can't wait. Send it over. So they sent it over. But what unfortunately didn't happen is in the actual transfer from these being made, they did the wrong keycaps for a limited bunch of like entry level ones, or not entry levels, of like the first run, I guess you'd call it. So unfortunately, that is what I ended up with. So I replied to them and said, look, you've sent it through, it's a fantastic keyboard, I love it, it's great, but unfortunately it isn't got the UK layout. It isn't ISO layout, so you do have the enter key as us in Europe, in the UK, etc., like our larger L-shaped key, but the keys themselves have got the US markings on in the wrong places. So the hash key and the pound sign are kind of not as they should be, which you can kind of get around it, but it's still a little bit frustrating. Now this thing may look like a small keyboard, but it is very, very solid, like ridiculous. What?
Raleigh almost forgot about the stream tonight.
Oh, Raleigh. So yeah, this is built like a literal tank. This has got to be like, I actually need to look at the weight, but it feels like it's getting on for at least 1.5 kilos, but I could be wrong. I get this wrong quite often. Does it actually say on here? I don't think it does. It doesn't. It's bloody heavy, put it that way. It's a chunky lump. If you wanted to kind of belt something with it, it would do some serious damage. So metal frame, top frame, metal surrounds, metal base, the whole thing is metal, so it is literally built like a tank. One of the downsides of it being metal is because you can't have adjustable feet, so there is a slight downside to that. But overall, the keyboard is excellent. And also, it has Ninja keycaps. So if you don't know what Ninja keycaps are, they are basically, if you look at it from face on, which I will show you now up close, it has nothing on them. Can't see anything. So Ninja keycaps. But you put it around that way, and it has got the font or legend on it. Now, if I plug this in, sorry, what's that? Hayden Trent, what? Right there. Can the lights be set to a static color? Them cheaper Amazon ones? Yes, with this, you can use the online web driver, and you can basically do anything you want. It's a very, very open platform. Let me see if I can plug this in without just... Actually, if I've got a USB-C to USB-C, that would be far superior. No, I haven't. I bought a load of USB Type-C cables, and I don't know where the hell I put them, which is a very common thing for me to say. Some of you will agree. I did go out this nice long 5-meter one though, so I can actually plug stuff in and not be absolutely strapped to anything. So let's plug this in and roll over the cable. So that's knackered now. And there you can see, it's hopefully that's illuminating a little bit. And yeah, it's a very, very lovely looking keyboard. If I turn the lights down a little bit. So now you can get a better idea of how it actually looks. So the font is actually on the front of the keys, and it is fully illuminated, so you can see exactly what is going on, but they're not on the top. Which actually for some people is better, because you can't see what's on the top anyway when you've got your fingers over it, but you can see underneath. So yeah, it is a very, very nice design. Obviously another side effect of this is the font is never going to ever wear away, because it's on the side, which you can't touch.
MC Hammer keyboard.
And if you put the caps lock on, the caps lock light changes colour, so you know that it is caps locked. Turn that on off. But yeah, it's an absolutely lovely keyboard. It really is. There. And let's do a little type in. There's no number pad. It's a 60% keyboard. I love it. I think that sounds great. So got Hall effect switches on here. So one of the things you can do with Hall effect switches is you can actually set the definition of what the keys do in certain positions if you want to.
Does it have arrow keys?
Arrow keys, no. No, not on a 60%. Well, it kind of does, but you have to use the function key and other keys to do that. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of 60% keyboards. I prefer a 70% or 75% maybe. That, for me, with the arrow keys and the delete and page up, page down buttons, works very well for me. 60%, I get why people like it. It's not ideal for me, but if you're limited on space and you've got the muscle memory to remember where the keys actually are for kind of things like your extra functions, then yeah, great, more power to you. Not entirely my thing, but this is really good. It's extremely cost effective for what it is. It's a very high quality keyboard. The alternate version of this, I think, which was on the market, which was a very similar sort of part number, it was something HE, and they were like £150 or so, and it's like 150 quid. That's a bit much, but these are extremely affordable, and I would strongly suggest you check out what they've got, especially again if you are like us in the UK, or you're in some of those other kind of EU nations where you've got a slightly different keyboard layout. Then yeah, they've got lots of options. So you've got German, Spanish, Greek, I think. You've got the standard ISO as well. But if you are the Americans, you go to the .com site and you've got all the American layouts there ready to go. And of course, extra switches if you want to. It's all got loads of gaskets in there. So it's got rubber gaskets, foam, all that stuff. Just basically everything you'd want out of like what seems to be a stupid price. I don't get really how they managed to make this so cheap, because it is extremely solid, very, very well built indeed. But unfortunately for me, the unit they sent through has actually got the kind of like the American layout. So we've got the hash key is on the number 3 key. Is that what Americans have? I think it is. So maybe if there's any of our American viewers who would like a keyboard like this, and I don't know how I would get it to you, because import duties would probably be quite a bad thing if it's person to person, but I don't know. Sorry, I think there's a pube in there. Oh, and I'm joking, it wasn't a pube. It was grey, it's one of the calves.
I manscape.
She's manscaped, that's right. Ship through Canada, sent to Canada. Again, yeah, if someone's interested, they like a 60% keyboard, and they like this layout, yeah, get in touch. We'll figure something out. Well, it is quite heavy to post, but I'll see. But it is absolute weight. I want to find the website actually to see the pricing, because the pricing was like, Hall effect keyboards are not cheap at all. So Fun 60 ISO UK. There we go. So yeah, the Acco Monsgeek Fun 60 Pro Max HE. At the moment, bizarrely on AliExpress, you get the Pro version for £27.73. That's obviously it's a wired one, not a wireless one. Let's see what Monsgeek. Yeah, because if you go the opposite way and you go on Amazon, they do the 8K version, so 8K polling rate. This is CNC aluminium as well, 95 quid. I'm sure Monsgeek were doing it for like a third of that, if I can find it. Sorry?
Dutch Jan's put a link in for Monsgeek.
Oh right, well done. Monsgeek, thank you Dutch Jan. Monsgeek UK.
Because it's not MSI.
Yeah, if it's MSI, I'll find it straight away.
No, Dutch Jan wouldn't put it in.
Where are we? Let's try and find it now. Products. We're in new arrivals. Fun 60. Right, currently it's at £52 for this specific version. So this is the Fun 60 TMR/HE. It's a stream desktop. Hopefully that is coming up on there. Yeah, so you can see that. So the Monsgeek EU version. And you can see there, £52. Tax including. So that's the Pro ISO version. You've also got the Max version and the ANSI layout. Max, ANSI, Ultra. Maybe that's the Ultra that I've got. I think £69 one. Shine through PBT.
MX108, Dutch Jan's put.
Okay. MX108. I'm not too sure myself. But anyway, so that is it. That is the keyboard. It is a really nice keyboard. Again, if you're into this size of keyboard, then you're going to love it. I actually quite like the fact that it's got the Ninja keys on there, because I never realised actually before that I don't really need the keycaps on the top. And I always saw these keyboards and I thought, well, that's a bit weird looking. But actually, the more you kind of use it, and I've used it for a little while, it seems absolutely fine. If anything, it's more legible, especially if you're in a darker environment, because the light is shining towards you. So you don't get that shine. Sometimes, you know, when you've got your monitor in front, you get the shine off your keys and you can't see the keycaps. But with this, because it's coming from the other angle, it's actually more luminous than it otherwise would normally be.
You've got to have your keyboard on your lap like this, but they might
yeah.
quite long enough to sit down.
Yeah, that's probably not ideal. Anyway, so there you go. So it's got the HE keys. Yeah, you can choose your own stuff on there. What sort of keycaps you want, what sort of switches. These have got the Acco Astrolink magnetic switches, I believe. it is a kind of nuts keyboard for what it is. I know there's a lot of you out there that don't really like or get the whole kind of luxury keyboard thing. But having said that, there's a lot of you that are starting to get into it. And I'm starting to get to the point as well where I actually do appreciate a good quality keyboard more than I have done previously. And it's getting to the point now where these keyboards are getting to be so good at such a sort of inoffensive price. I know you get some of these channels where they go out and they spend like literally hundreds of pounds on the keyboard and all the switches and lubes and all that kind of stuff. I get it. If you're into that sort of thing, knock yourself out. It's a hobby ultimately at the end of the day. But for me, I kind of might like the more sensibly priced stuff, more cost effective. Like for instance, the MSI one that I've reviewed a little while back. The MSI, what was it? The GK. Oh, it's on there. Force GK 600 Elite, was it? No. The Force GK TKL. The TKL version, the sky blue one. That was actually really cool. And it had that built-in screen as well. And it was like 70 quid. Which, for the quality of it, was absolutely excellent. But unfortunately, those nasty people at MSI actually wanted it back. So I have actually sent that back now. Which upsets me a lot. David Underhill says, I love MSI. David Underhill, actually, I should mention this, and David, if you want to put the link in, you're more than welcome to. There is a MSI kind of fan page that David is set up on Facebook. So if you are somewhat of a fan of MSI products in general. No, Viali would be straight on there. Viali would be in there like hot shit. He'll be straight in there. So yeah, Viali is going to be straight into the MSI group. But yeah, if you're someone who likes MSI products, or you own some MSI products, or you just want to talk about MSI products, you are very welcome to join.
You could send him that keyboard.
We could send him some MSI keyboards to go in the MSI room. That would be great. Did I get this keyboard out before? Because I think I almost doxed myself with it before. It's like shows your shipping address.
I thought you meant caught yourself on it. Because you're doing it all under the desk.
No, I caught myself in the docks. Right in the docks, that was.
I've not heard before.
Hayden says, sorry, I'm an Asus ROG fanboy. Well, you'd like my system over there. Because that is Asus ROG Z790 Tough Gaming BTF motherboard. We've got the Asus ROG Tough Gaming RTX 4070 Ti Super in the Tough version again. And also I've got the Scope, is it the Scope keyboard? Yeah, Scope 2 keyboard and the Impact 3 keyboard mouse. So it's all Asus up over there.
Touchdown. In Germany, the MX108 has €12.99 shipping.
Ooh, is that good or bad?
I'd say bad.
I don't know, because it's heavy. It's a lot of weight. David Underhill's giving us a 10 Aussie dollars super chat. Thank you. It says, thanks for the promo. You're very welcome.
Sorry for the delay. I've got so much.
Dave Aiken says, Mike, have you ever been interested in any of the new gaming handhelds? Truthfully, yes, but would I buy one? No. For multiple reasons. I spend almost 99% of my living life here, in this room, or in the garden, or in and around the house. So
90%. I think that's
99.
Underestimating.
99, I said.
Oh, 99.
Yeah, I think that's closer. So basically, I'm here all the time, and I have a desktop PC there. I've got a stream PC there. I've got multiple PCs around the house. So I don't really need to have a PC with me at any point. Now, if I went outside into the world, maybe even into the garden more often, then yeah, maybe a handheld PC would be quite beneficial. But generally, the only time I go outside is when it's sunny. And as most of us know, handheld gaming PC outside in the sun is it's probably not a great idea. Going to knacker out your eyes if you can even see the screen. So I don't have any use for a portable gaming PC. Realistically, if I was one of those people who kind of spent more time on the sofa in front of the TV, then yeah, definitely play some games whilst I'm listening to the TV. I can completely understand it. Or if I was someone who commuted, it's great for pulling out on your kind of your coach, your train, car journey if you're a passenger. It's completely understandable. Or if you're doing it like a 9 to 5 and you're in an office and you've got your lunch break, it's like, well, take your gaming PC, play some games, catch up on some emails and stuff on your break. But you could probably do that on a laptop, to be fair. But yeah, I understand the market segment. It's not for me, but I certainly do understand the segment and appreciate it. And I do kind of want one, but if I did get one, it would be an entire waste of money. Because if anything, I'd be more limited because it's less powerful than my desktop PC by a considerable margin.
His eyes are rubbish.
My eyes are rubbish, or they're getting better, but for anything like that small, I got the iPhone 16 Plus because the screen's a little bit bigger.
I got one to make my bum look smaller.
And yeah, Kath's got one to make her ass look smaller when she puts it in her back pocket. It's that's it. And even this, like, this is what, 6.5, 6.3 inches. And what are the kind of handheld gaming PCs? Like 7 inches, 8-inch screens, if that, maybe 10 maximum. So I don't think I would appreciate the smaller screen anyway. I'd much rather use a laptop. And I don't play games really enough, or yeah, I don't need one basically. But I do like the look of them, and I love the idea that AMD are coming through with some awesome gaming CPUs, and things like the MSI Claw 8 Plus, I think, is going to be one that's coming out. I would love one of those, but I have no real use for it, so it would be a completely waste purchase, which for the kind of £600, £700, £800 that they're going to cost is just, yeah, not feasible.
Maybe they're pricing you out of desktops to make you have these.
Yeah. John Doe 7 says I got a Switch 2 pre-ordered. See, I've kind of understand the Switch, but I don't at the same time. I think if I was going to get a handheld computer type gaming device, I don't think I'd get a Nintendo one. I think I'd get something which runs more open source. So like a Steam Deck maybe, or a Windows-based one, just so that I'm not locked into those kind of expensive cartridge games and stuff, or downloaded games. Don't know. George, you getting a Switch 2?
No.
No.
Not at the moment, anyway.
Are you considering it at all?
Maybe.
Is that maybe as in
No.
distant yes, or very likely?
Distant, yes, probably.
Right. So, yeah, George is basically a gamer. He plays lots of games, and a lot of Nintendo games, to be fair. He already has a Switch. He has a Wii and a Wii. Do you have a Wii U? You don't have a Wii U, do you?
No.
He's got a blue Wii.
Yeah. But he's seen a doctor about that. Yeah, so of all the people that I would have thought that was going to get a Switch 2 straight away, I thought George would. But he doesn't seem particularly interested, so. I'm not very interested myself, personally. But then I've never actually used one.
We did. We played that Milking the Cows game.
What, on a Wii U? On a Switch?
Yeah.
Milking cows?
Yeah, that. You had the motion off proper, didn't you?
That wasn't on a Switch.
I thought that was on a Switch. What was that on there?
Switch is the little handheld thing.
What did we
Like
do?
a bigger DS.
But what did we do it on? I thought you had it.
Wii U. No, the Wii, I think.
It wasn't a Wii. It's a Casualty.
And that's the Wii U.
Was it?
Yeah.
It's plugged into a big TV thing.
Yeah.
And then we had to get everyone who came in the office to milk the cows.
Yeah.
Just for lols. That's why I'm getting confused.
Anyway, so, yeah. If you're happy and Switch is your thing, or Switch 2 is your thing, awesome stuff. I just don't really... I don't play enough games to warrant actually getting a console kind of based handheld, or even a console for that matter. I wouldn't buy another Xbox. I think Xbox is basically kind of pretty much dead and buried. The PlayStation, I think, has pretty much run out of steam as well. There's not really much more that they can do without it just becoming a fully fledged PC. At least to make it interesting. I guess there's still a big market for it because they still sell, but I think their games are somewhat numbered. Yeah.
Never really liked the Xbox after the first one.
Yeah.
It didn't have enough choice of games, did it? The first one had brilliant games.
David Underhill says, I have trouble playing games on 32-inch screen, so 6-inch, no way, Juicy. Nintendo owns the console market. I think it pretty much does, yeah.
I get too travel sick with games nowadays.
James Miscellaneous. How you doing, James Miscellaneous? It says hi, and Calf, and SS. Let's go Stalker. Rick Welly Bob says, Switch is a useless, underpowered cash eater to me. Harsh, but potentially fair. That's so good. If you haven't tried it, honestly, Foster's Shandy.
On there, it looks like
It reminds me of the
tin,
80s straight
but
away.
It's not. It's a tall tin, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a tall tin, big one.
On there, it looks quite squat, doesn't it? Why'd you give me the big one?
Actually, we were having this. Well, we weren't. It's we were having a discussion earlier on Adamant IT. If you haven't been over to Adamant IT, I would suggest you take a look at the channel. Yeah, some very interesting views there. But in today's chat, there was some discussion about kind of PC gaming and where it's heading and where it should be. This was kind of based around the kind of discussion loosely of the RTX 4060 stroke 5060 and 8 gigs of RAM and all that kind of stuff, and obviously the RX 7600, 8 gigs of RAM, and the 9600 possibly being again 8 gigs of RAM. And the discussion came on to resolutions. Now I am I would say a casual gamer, so I'll play games. I don't really care what it's on. If it looks nice, great. If it doesn't matter. To me, what matters most is the game itself. If the game is engaging, then realistically, I couldn't give a crap about what the graphics look like, whether they're 4K, 2K, 1080p, even 720p. I don't care. And also, if you're at the lower segment of the market, so you're looking at, excuse me, £250-ish graphics card or slightly higher, then the 8 gigs of RAM, yes, potentially it can become one of those bottlenecks. But if you're in a position where you're spending sort of £250 to £300 on a graphics card, and you're concerned about it only having 8 gigs of RAM, I think the fact that you can only afford a graphics card with 8 gigs of RAM is your limiting factor. So yeah, you could buy something like the Intel Arc B580, which has got 12 gigs of RAM, and you might find that better for you. Again, it's not a particularly strong GPU. It's probably going to be very similar to a 4060 in most instances. And again, very similar to the RX 7600. All similar prices, all kind of similar specs, although the Intel's got more RAM, so potentially it's got a little bit more longevity. But realistically, the 8 gigs of RAM, like most reviewers are testing this GPU or these GPUs at the highest possible settings. So ultra or high, depending on the game. Which kind of makes me think that it's not entirely, how can I put this? They're not bullshitting you. They're just saying, if you're running this game at this resolution, at this type of quality setting, you're going to run out of RAM. So what do you do? Well, you do what most people would do. You just reduce your settings so it fits in with your RAM. Now, that may not be ideal. That may not be the optimal situation. But if you've only got a certain amount of money and you want a certain type of graphics card, that is what you're going to have to do. If that isn't suitable to you, get a better job, save more money, buy a better graphics card. It's kind of not rocket science. And also, I think that the whole fact that the game industry seems to be pushing towards just eye candy. If you look at GTA 5 and you look at GTA 6, GTA 6 looks to be a masterpiece in terms of graphical fidelity, which is great. But essentially the gameplay is going to be, I would argue, identical, if not just a larger world, than GTA 5. Now, yeah, it's a great game. People enjoy it, and it's sold hundreds and hundreds of millions of copies. It made them billions and billions of dollars. But what or who is to blame here? Should we blame Nvidia and AMD and Intel for making graphics cards with limited RAM? Do we blame game designers for unnecessarily bloating a game with textures so that it runs like absolute crap, when the games often are modified from a console port, which arguably might have less RAM, or potentially has got more RAM and they're just doing a lazy port? So it kind of begs the question of, where is the problem? We're all really quick to say Nvidia are bastards because of 8 gigs of RAM, AMD are bastards, 8 gigs of RAM, or too expensive, or whatever it is. But we've always got the choice. We don't have to run games at ultra. We don't have to run games at high. You can tone down the settings if you want to, and the majority of games are going to be fine. Also, people are saying things like, if you're using an 8 gig card and you want to turn on ray tracing, basically you're screwed because there's not enough VRAM to do it. Well, yeah, it's like, if you've got a game which is coded in such a way that you can't run it, then don't run it. The RTX feature is there. You don't have to use it, and in most cases it doesn't actually improve gameplay. It just makes things look nicer. And again, I'll go back to my original thing. Why do we want things to look nicer? Does it actually make a difference? If the game is good, if you're engaged in the game, does it matter how good it looks? I feel personally that they're making games look better and using more VRAM, putting more eye candy on the screen to cover up for the fact that they cannot come up with a good game engine, or a game which actually is so good that you want to play it regardless of how it looks. Because that's what it should be. Look at the old days when, back in the 70s and 80s, we had things like Space Invaders and Pac-Man, which were pixel based. It looked awful by today's comparison, but we spent loads and loads of money putting our 10p's and quarters into those machines and playing them for hours and hours on end, begging, stealing and borrowing money to go and play these games because they were so good at the time. And they were like, they were new, exciting, you wanted to play them. And as things evolve, new games, driving games, tank games, sports games, all sorts.
Sims.
The Sims, stuff like that. Like
I'd much rather just play the first one without all that.
Yeah, The Sims 1, arguably, is the much better release of all of them because it was new, it was fresh, it didn't look particularly eye-popping, but
take hours to load
it was a
every
cool
time.
new idea and it worked very well. So, again, I come back to my statement. Who are we blaming? Are we blaming game designers? Are we blaming the manufacturers? Where's the blame? Who's doing something wrong here? I think, personally, the problem lies with game designers and developers. They're investing way, way too much money in eye candy and special features like ray tracing.
But why would they do that if they didn't have the technology
Yeah.
available to play them? So they've obviously know in advance that that's going to happen.
Yeah. They're just dicks, aren't they? They're designing games for PCs that nobody owns, or the elite own. So if you want to run a game at its highest possible settings, it's going to cost you, realistically, if you're in the UK, somewhere around about £2,000, £2,500. If you're in the States, probably closer to 4. If you're in Canada, getting on for 6. It's ridiculous. And it doesn't need to be this way. But we need to do something to make game developers either optimize their code or write better games. Look at Fortnite. Fortnite is developed from being like actually a really cool little game that run on a nice engine, which run on pretty much a potato, to whereas now, if you want to run Fortnite with everything eye candy turned on, again, you've got to spend thousands and thousands of pounds because of ray tracing and stuff.
Sims 2 and you had to buy a new PC
Yeah,
to play it on in the end.
yeah. And it was no better than Sims 1, really.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Except for by the time you looked at it, you said, why have I made it fat? And it was because you
That's true.
Been using the gym equipment. I haven't made you fat. I didn't know that you had got fat.
So I'm gonna read some of your chat in there because I think I've ranted enough about that. But I wanted to get off my chest because it pisses me off that like the game developers clearly are the problem because they need to develop the games more efficiently and use the code more efficiently and use the resources more efficiently so that people can play the games because they know that the target market is RTX 3060, RTX 1060 6GB, or whatever it is. Whatever is on the Steam hardware thing as being the most popular graphics card, there's your target market. That's what you're aiming for. Because if you don't aim for that, people cannot play the game or can't enjoy the game. It's nuts. Anyway, let's see. Xbox Series S only has 10 gigs of RAM, says Jason. PS5 uses 16 gigs. Rick says, I blame Mr. Bobby, I think Mr. Blobby, for ruining the 90s for me.
Oh, you loved him, didn't you?
Blobby, Blobby, Blobby. Reskin game and make dollar, says Arnold G. Yep, definitely. Hey, Ordinary Dude, how you doing? Skystalker says a 12GB video card for 370 CAD is, at Best Buy, is a steal. Yeah, that sounds pretty good, actually. Right, where do we get to? Right. So yeah, 1440p versus 1080p. I personally, my desktop PC, my editing PC, my gaming PC, which I generally tend to use, is 1440p. But quite often, I will run the games at 1080p anyway. Just FPS. Because I play things like Counter-Strike or Fortnite, which are kind of more twitchy shooters, so you need to have the speed. If I'm playing like a first-person game, like RoboCop or something, Rogue City, yeah, of course, I'll just bang it down to 60 FPS because it's kind of, you don't need it to be any faster than that. But I think that's, again, the limit. Like, talking of CS, Counter-Strike, if you're playing Counter-Strike, if you're doing it professionally or you're doing it competitively, you're playing at 1080p. Lowest possible settings with basically everything turned off so it looks like absolute shit. But you've got super fast response times and ridiculous FPS. So again, it comes down to like, clearly CS2, Counter-Strike 2, things like Fortnite, if you put it down into like esports mode or what do you call it, low performance or whatever mode, it can basically run on anything still. And again, it means that they can do it if they want to. But yeah, do we need, is NVIDIA the problem is what I'm trying to get at here. I don't think it is personally. Like, yeah, I would love to see NVIDIA say, right, okay, 8 gigs is not enough these days. 12 gigs has got to be our entry point. But then that also leads to problems because then if you want to double up the RAM on a graphics card, it's going to go to 24 gigs rather than bolting on an extra however many gigs to make it up to 16 because it doesn't kind of work that way these days. So yeah, there are problems, but yeah, I don't think that it is... I don't think it's necessarily a problem with NVIDIA or AMD for that matter. I personally believe it's review guides, obviously reviewing it high or ultra settings, which realistically you don't really need. If you want eye candy, watch a bloody film. A game is supposed to be an immersive game you to enjoy and it's fun. Does it have to look cinematic quality? Does it have to have ray trace lighting in it? Of course it doesn't. It's nice if it can do, but it shouldn't be kind of like an entry point into gaming. And things like Indiana Jones and I think also Doom doesn't have to have ray tracing as a default to even install, which seems just, yeah, absolutely bananas. Anyway, let's see what you guys say. Use DLSS if you have NVIDIA GPU. It's true. Skystalker says, when the GPU starts doing graphics and AI, we are going to run into memory issues quickly, even with 16 gigs of VRAM. Yep, that's true. Huve says, UE5 is developers' management fault, not coders. I've told management you are stupid. They say, we pay you, you do as you're told. That is the problem. it's not, yeah, I'll probably, yeah, game developers. When I say game developers, I don't mean coders, because coders are doing what they can. It comes down to management, because obviously management is what steers them in one direction or another. So yeah, ultimately, again, when it comes to NVIDIA or AMD, I'm not blaming anyone who works at AMD or NVIDIA unless you're in management, because you're not able to steer the company. You're just doing basically what you're told. Dave Aiken says NVIDIA can do it. They did it with the 3060. Yeah. Hoove says fake frames introduces latency. This is very true. David Underhill says, when I have 20 plus uglies shooting at me, I have zero time to see pretty shadows and ray traced effects. Yes, I agree. I agree entirely. I think that pretty much sums up my entire ethos on the matter. If a game is engaging, you're engrossed in it, and it's fast action, and it's just everything's going on, you're into the game. You're thinking about logic, where you're going to move, where you're going to reload your weapon, or whatever you're going to do, whether you're going to retreat, advance, be aggressive, be submissive, etc. Those are the things that are going through your head. Not like, oh, look at the reflection in that guy's sunglasses. If you're looking at, this was a thing that used to say in the TV industry. If your viewer is looking at like the stuff in the background, something's very wrong. And that's something which I've kind of always gone by. It is realistic. If you're concentrating on the background or the visuals or whatever, then you've lost the viewer, because they're not taking interest in your story or what you're saying or the drama or the dialogue, which is what it's supposed to be all about. Anyway, there you go. So anyway, I've ranted on for way too long. It's almost 11:30 and I have got to go to work in the morning, which always sucks. So I will bid you adieu. And as always, thank you all so much for joining us. Thank you for the super chats, your kindness, your generosity, your continued support. And also, again, don't forget, if you just come in late, don't forget that Technically Stable, I've got that deal on at the moment. So 3 mouse pads for the price of 2. And you can choose all different designs if you want to, shapes, sizes, etc. Whatever you do, the third one is, or basically the cheapest one of the lot is going to be free. So you can make your own minds up what you do there. I'll put a link in the chat, so if you want to use that. You can also use the discount code Mike's Unboxing, which I think you'll still get an additional 10% off. I'm not entirely sure if that works on there. I haven't tried it. I will be trying it tomorrow, so I'm going to order some mouse pads up. So yeah, check that out. See what it's like. Also, our friends over at premiumcdkeys.com, who we are also very, very entwined with, because they do some pretty good stuff. What does it say now? I thought it said ass. It says ads. If you go over to premiumcdkeys.com/Mike's Unboxing, you will now, if you use the Mike's Unboxing discount code, get a bigger discount, which is awesome. And also, they have just got in stock the enterprise versions of Windows 10 and Windows 11. So if you want a more bloat-free version of Windows from the get-go, from your fresh install, you can go over to there and get your license keys. I think, from memory, I looked over there recently, I think they're about $5, maybe $6, but again, considerably cheaper than any of the other enterprise licenses I've seen online. So if you are interested in an LTSC or enterprise license for Windows 10 or for Windows 11, Premium CD Keys have got you covered. And if you use the Mike's Unboxing discount code, you should get a bigger discount now than previously, which is awesome. So with all that said, I've been Mike. This is Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and we'll catch you in the very next video. Have a great rest of your weekend, and if you want us, we'll be on Discord, possibly later on, and if not, we'll be on there tomorrow. And look out for the new videos on Monday. And also don't forget to check out the 5 top services to disable on Windows 10 or Windows 11, which has become very, very popular. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. See you later. Have a nice one. Bye. Say bye, Kath.
Bye.
See you next week.